they have.
We'll be getting a look at him, but I also think they wouldn't mind if Manny started hitting
exactly.
again. And I'm sure he will shortly. Now, the Braves were in the midst of a hot streak when we were here 2 Sundays ago. Their pitching continuing to be strong, but it was their hot hitting that seemed to make the big difference then. And Steve, that's about the time that their great slugger Chipper Jones started to kick it in.
Chipper Jones is a winner. Over the last 15 years, he may be the most important player to the club's success here in Atlanta. To give you some perspective about his importance, in the history of the game, there are only 2 players who have a .300 career batting average, 400 or more home runs, and have been on 10 first-place teams. That's Jones and Babe Ruth. So that really gives some perspective of how important Chipper is to winning in Atlanta. So it shouldn't be a surprise that as the fortunes have turned here in Atlanta and the team is playing better, that the offense has come around. Chipper Jones, 4 home runs in his last 13 games. He's 10 for his last 20 with runners in scoring position. When they're scoring runs, he's the guy getting it done. They're averaging 1 run per game more since the All-Star break than before. So the offense there to support this good pitching.
So, the rubber match of the series, big ball game for both ball clubs. Chad Billingsley, he was the ace of the Dodgers last year and for most of the first half this year, but he's fallen upon hard times lately. And he's up against young Jair Jurgens, not well known around the country, but he has been one of the top young pitchers in the game these last 2 years. Jurgens will make his first pitch when we come back.
Taco Bell, think outside the bun. And in part by Citi. Citi never sleeps. And One A Day Men's 50+ Advantage. Get more of what matters to you.
The Dodgers sitting high atop the National League West as the evening begins. There's Joe Torre Right alongside on the right side of the screen there, that's Larry Boa, the third base coach, himself a former big league manager. Bob Schaefer, the bench coach, in to chat with Joe. 2,215 career wins. One of the top figures of any manager in the history of the game. The Dodgers batting order now presented by Taco Bell. Rafael Furcal, a former Brave, at shortstop. Andre Ethier, who is on fire, leading the Dodgers with 22 home runs, a career record already for him. He's in right. Manny Ramirez, his numbers are pretty good for the number of games he's played, but not many RBIs lately. James Loney is at first base, 64 batted in despite only 7 home runs. Matt Kemp continuing to emerge with the chance to be a superstar. He's in center field. Russell Martin, the veteran catcher. It'll be Mark Loretta in place of Casey Blake, who jammed his right wrist after the game last night while working out. Orlando Hudson is at second base, and Chad Billingsley is the pitcher, and he'll bat ninth, all up against Jair Jurgens, 23-year-old right-hander. And Jurgens, how come you never hear this guy's name outside of Atlanta?
Well, you know what? He's the first pitcher ever from Curacao to pitch in the major leagues, and the young guy that came over from the Detroit Tigers in the trade, he has been so good last year and then again this year. The opponent's batting average 233. And even more important, with runners in scoring position, hitting 186 against him, so he gets big outs when he needs them.
So, Jurgens, 23 years old, and
well, Johnny, take a look at Jurgens here. One of the things this young guy does is he hits his spots, and the defense can then play in a certain position knowing that he's going to make the pitch and pitch to that location. And the Braves have an outstanding defensive efficiency rating behind him. Balls put in play turning into outs, because where they move to defend, he throws the pitch to get the out in that situation. And this young guy has tremendous command and control.
so Jurgens from Willemstad, Curacao, and acquired in a deal before last season that really kind of backfired on the Detroit Tigers. Jurgens had been with the Tigers and going through their farm system, and was sent here to Atlanta in the deal that sent the veteran shortstop Edgar Renteria to Detroit. Renteria now with San Francisco. Here is Rafael Furcal, the former Brave. And the fastball is in there for a called strike, and we are underway. .77 degrees, the official game time temperature. Here's the bunt, but one hop to second, and he is thrown out by Prado.
Let's take a look at the Braves defensively. In the outfield, Garrett Anderson over from the American League. McLeod, of course, the one Gold Glove at Pittsburgh. Diaz in right field. And on the infield, Adam LaRoche is back. Played his first part of his career here and then went to Pittsburgh, came back, and of course Chipper Jones over at third, and Brian McCann, the all-star catcher, is behind the plate.
Yeah, who knew? It turns out they loved him after all.
Right.
Adam LaRoche hit hits in their 4-3 come from behind win. Right now we're looking at Andre Ethier, who is the man for the Dodgers. 2 homers and 5 batted in this series. So whereas Manny has not driven in anybody for nearly 10 days, Ethier has been the guy, and he's especially been hot, not just this year but last year as well, when he's hit directly in front of Manny Ramirez.
He's also been their power. I mean, he has turned into a true power hitter. You looked at James Loney and Matt Kemp, and you said which one of these 3 guys were going to be a big power hitter. I think we're seeing Ethier emerge quicker than the other 2.
Ethier, 27 years old, and he has always shown a propensity to hit well for average, a lot of doubles and that sort of thing, but not the big home run total. This, as we said earlier, already his career home run record. There's still more than a third of the season yet to be played. 2-2 the count.
When you talk about average, he was hitting for a higher average before. He hit 300 and hit 20 home runs, which is something you'd like to see your outfielders do, show power and a good average. Now his average is starting to climb. He's been swinging the bat very well lately.
And the slider is too high, so it's a full count. Now, when you hit in front of Manny, the conventional wisdom is that that translates into getting a good pitch to hit. So if he's going to get one, this would be the time, I would think.
Well, two home runs in the series have both come on fastballs as well. So you think, well, you know what, 3-2 count, he'll get a fastball here with Manny coming up behind him.
And it is a fastball into the hole. It's short. Here is Hernandez. He double clutches and loses his chance. Might not have really had much of a chance in the first place. And here comes Manny Ramirez, and let's listen in to see how the Braves crowd responds to Manny coming up.
Fielder number 99, Manny Ramirez.
Seems like a lot of Dodger fans here in Atlanta right now. And there's one. I don't think those dreadlocks are real, though.
So here is Manny with a runner at first. And a fastball for a strike on the inside. Well, we know Manny's dreadlocks are real, but there's been question, especially this year, as to what all really is real with Manny, because he was suspended for 50 games for reportedly using a banned substance, HCG, a female fertility drug. Now the New York Times has reported earlier this week that both Manny and David Ortiz, his former Red Sox teammate, were on the list of 104 players who tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs back in 2003.
Well, on the road, he's going to be booed, but back in L.A., he's still kind of a cult hero there. I mean, he's not being booed in L.A. They love him, and so that's the tale of two cities there. I mean, we're in Atlanta tonight, but once he gets back to L.A. tomorrow, you'll hear nothing but cheers.
Manny made his return after his suspension while the Dodgers were in San Diego. There were caravans of busloads of Dodger fans going down to welcome Manny back. And that's just a little bit low from Jurgens with a changeup, and it's 3 balls and a strike to Manny Ramirez.
Well, I think what we've seen is that the way fans have reacted, they've said, yes, he's a cheater, but he's our cheater, so we're going to cheer for him. And you see the Red Sox fans really supporting David Ortiz in Boston over the weekend as his name came up in that same positive test as well.
And a pop-up. Adam LaRoche, he's got it. So on a 3-1 count, Jurgens gets Manny to foul out. Ethier holding it first.
Well, good job there by Jurgens, because his last pitch, the 2-1 pitch, was away, and that allowed him to come back inside 3-1. He started off by pitching him inside the first couple of pitches, then he went away, and then he comes back inside 3-1, and Manny can't handle it. And I think that was because of the pitch before. And you can see he pulls his arms in trying to get to it. And that's one of those situations that normally a guy like Manny hitting in a count of 3-1, it's a hitter's count. He's looking dead red fastball, and he usually can get to it, but he could not get to that one. Good job by Jurgens to keep him from sitting on one pitch in one spot.
Ethier back to the bag at first. Now Manny got hit on the hand with a pitch back on July 21st. The next night, as a pinch hitter, he hit a grand slam that just electrified Dodger Stadium. And a fastball for a strike to James Loney.
That was actually on Manny bobblehead night. He hit the pinch hit home run, and the fans were disappointed he wasn't going to be in the lineup, but Joe Torre sends him up to pinch hit. First pitch he sees, he hits out of the ballpark.
Vince Scully said memorably, that was more Hollywood than Hollywood. 0-1 the count to James Loney. But he has not had an RBI since that grand slam. And this was the great moment on July 22nd. It was in a tight ball game. The Dodgers won the game 6-2. And Manny, who was hit by a pitch the night before in the left hand, not in the lineup, didn't take batting practice. Then grabbed a bat, went up there and hit a grand slam. And it's back to the screen by Loney. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
There was another side note to that when I was talking to Joe Torre. He used Tony La Russa's method. The pitcher was hitting 8th that night. So that's why Manny was able to pinch hit for the pitcher, Billingsley, that night. And he was hitting in the 8th place because he wanted Pierre to hit 9th. So he said he kind of fell into that, but it worked for him that night, and he may think about it again sometimes. I guess with Pierre's in the lineup, he wants 2 leadoff men, so to speak. He puts Pierre 9th, and then for Carl hitting 1st.
He first started doing that after Manny got suspended, when Pierre replaced him. That changeup, foul tip. Still 1 ball, 2 strikes to James Loney.
I think one of the things to keep an eye on throughout this night with Jair Jurgens on the mound is his control. I mean, it is amazing, his impeccable controls. You watch Brian McCann set up, and he oftentimes sets to the corner. He doesn't sit in the middle of the plate and let the movement work. He goes to the corners, but Jurgens really has the confidence to throw to the glove and hit his spots.
His confidence, his acumen sort of belies his very young age, 23 years old, very little experience, but a lot of the things you look at that are gained by experience, he is already doing.
Well, he's not afraid to pitch inside. We showed him pitching into Manny Ramirez. He throws his breaking ball for a strike, has a changeup to keep the hitters off balance. He hits changeup so good he does throw it to right-handed hitters as well. You saw the move to first base. He holds runners. They don't run on him a lot. Fields his position. He does a lot of things that a National League pitcher needs to do. And his delivery, there's not a lot of wasted movement. He can repeat the delivery, repeat his release point, and therefore throw strikes.
No score, 2 down, runner at first. And along the left field line, there's the veteran, Garrett Anderson, and the inning is over. Ethier stranded. Now Chad Billingsley will head to the hill. The Atlanta Braves are coming up. McLeod, Prado, and Chipper Jones. And Nate McLeod, the former Pirate, will be leading it off for Atlanta. And here is the Braves batting order turned in by manager Bobby Cox, presented by Taco Bell. McLeod in center, then Martin Prado at second base. Chipper Jones at third base, starting to hit the long ball again. Ryan McCann, the catcher, all-star catcher. Garrett Anderson, longtime member of the Angels, in left field. Adam LaRoche back with the Braves, his second game back at first base. Matt Diaz in right field. Diori Hernandez replacing Yunel Escobar, got hit with a pitch in the hand the other day and has been missing ever since. And Jair Jurgens is the pitcher, batting ninth up against Chad Billingsley. And Billingsley has gone into a slump in his last 8 games, a 6.46 ERA, only 1 win.
Well, John, he hasn't pitched as poorly as his numbers might look, but he's a guy that has a power arm. He throws a power curveball, which is different from, say, Kershaw's curveball. He uses a power fastball. He's a power pitcher. They would like to see him take a little bit more off his curveball to make it a different speed, but everything is power with Billingsley.
Right along the third base line. Long throw by Loretta. Got him.
Nice play.
And some nifty footwork over there at first base by Loney.
Take a look at the Dodgers defensively. Third best fielding percentage in the National League. Going around the outfield, Manny Ramirez, Matt Kemp, and Andre Ethier. Matt Kemp really showing that he can play some center field this year. And in the infield, see Marco Loretta at third base, filling in for Casey Blake with the wrist strain, and Rafael Furcal at short, Orlando Hudson, 3 Gold Gloves at second base, James Loney at first, and Russell Martin behind the plate. Russell Martin's done a nice job shutting down the running game. Although in this game, the Atlanta Braves tend not to run very much, so it may not come into play.
Here now, Martin Prado against Billingsley. That one is belted deep into center. Kemp on the run. He'll have to play the carom. Prado with a stand-up double.
Well, Martin Prado has been swinging the bat well most of the season since he took over for Kelly Johnson. Fastball, that's pretty much in the middle of the plate. Billingsley's not going to be on the edges around the corners because he is more of a power pitcher. You don't want the ball in the middle of the plate, but he gets that one there and he hits it out over the center fielder's head. But if you're a power pitcher, you can get away with balls in the strike zone sometimes. One thing I wanted to mention, John, is the last game he pitched against St. Louis. He pitched 5 innings, didn't give up anything, 1 hit. Then all of a sudden, he gave up, the 6 runs. A little shabby defense as well.
Swing and a miss by Chipper Jones. A sharp curveball with a lot of bite to it, and really fooled Chipper.
Now his curveball, again, is a power curveball. And Kershaw, the great left-hander they have, his is more of a normal curveball, but this is a hard breaking curveball. And Kershaw changes speeds with his.
And the high fastball misses. Now, Chipper, you saw that note, 4 homers in the last 13 games for Chipper. Now, that's only a note because of the lack of home run power by Chipper for most of this year. He had only 1 homer in 31 previous games. So lately, since right around the All-Star break, that's when Chipper started looking like Chipper again. And the much slower curveball is foul tip.
Well, they're trying to get him to change speeds. That's the key. And then one thing, when we talk about they didn't make any trades at the deadline to get the extra starting pitcher they needed. They got Sherrill, of course, who can help them. But people thought that they should get a number 1 guy. They think that this guy can develop into a number 1 guy, he and Kershaw, because he has the power arm to be able to pitch in the postseason.
Another sharp breaking ball for the strikeout.
Outstanding job by Billingsley, and this is a change for him. This is what they're trying to get him to do. When he gets in trouble is when he starts to be a bull in a china shop. He starts to try to overpower and go hard with anything. You've got runners in scoring position. He starts Chipper Jones off with a breaking ball. Then he goes fastball in to get him conscious inside. You see Chipper start to open up a little bit. He went soft away. The breaking ball getting him again. So Billingsley, this is growth right here. This is clearly Russell Martin getting it from the dugout as well. How they're going to approach Chipper Jones with runners in scoring position. But when you're in trouble, it's not always best to go hard. Sometimes better to go soft.
Chipper has been especially lethal lately in those at-bats with runners in scoring position. There's that breaking ball for a swinging strike by another outstanding bat, Brian McCann.
It'll be interesting to keep these at-bats, Chipper Jones, Brian McCann, in mind next time they come through the lineup. He started both of them off with the breaking ball. So that's clearly somewhere in the back of their mind. They'll go up there the next time, depending on the situation, remembering what he did to them first time around.
And a fastball on the outside corner. Strike 2. With 1 out, Martin Prado hit a double. He's at second. Chipper Jones, a strikeout victim. And now, Brian McCann, one of the best hitting catchers in the game, a perennial all-star, even though he's only 25 years old, trying to deliver. And now he gets another breaking ball and fouls it off. Still 0-2. 10 pitches thrown in this inning, 9 of them for strikes by Chad Billingsley.
Well, it's not even just throwing strikes, John, that they're looking for with Billingsley. They want him to get ahead, but they want him to be able to finish off the hitter, whether that means striking him out or putting him away. But do not let the hitter back into the count by building up a high pitch count, and before you know it, you're around the 6th inning, you have close to 100 pitches.
And he gets a lot of strikeouts His strikeout per 9-inning average 9th best in the league. The fastball is off the outside.
Well, we talked about the number of strikes he's thrown, but think back to those strikes to Chipper Jones. How many of them were even in the strike zone? I mean, Chipper chased out of the zone, and Billingsley, because he threw a curveball in a fastball count where Chipper was trying to be aggressive, he got him to chase the ball out of the zone.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Now McCann asks for timeout, backs away. No score in the game here in the first. There's Bobby Cox. We showed Joe Torre's number of victories. Bobby Cox is also among the leaders. In fact, Torre, Cox, and Tony La Russa of the Cardinals are 3 of the winningest managers of all time. Still active. There's the ball down and away. And Joe Torre and Bobby Cox have managed against each other for a long, long time. Bobby Cox, who, even though he is still active, has already secured his place amongst the all-time Braves in the history of the franchise. And a little cutter or hard slider in the dirt on the inside. It's a full count.
See, this is what they were talking about. Now he's gone back and brought the hitter back into the count. Now it's an even count, so to speak, 3 balls, 2 strikes. And he was way ahead in the count, but he could not put McCann away. And what happens there is you just continue to build up the pitch count.
I would not throw him a fastball right here. I'm going breaking ball.
Change up.
3-2.
And you know, Brian McCann up there, I mean, he's a good RBI guy. You've got Garrett Anderson on deck, who's also been a very professional hitter. But McCann, to me, is poison in this Braves lineup beyond Chipper Jones. The guy you've got to be careful with first base open. They can hit your pitch.
Garrett Anderson, another left-handed hitter on deck, would be next. Prado at second. Strike 3 call. Another breaking ball. And that seemed to confuse McCann. Prado stranded at second. Matt Kemp coming up. No score. Day, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan and Steve Phillips from Turner Field, Atlanta. And here is Matt Kemp. The exciting young emerging stars of the Dodgers. And a fastball for a called strike. Kemp hitting .312, so we know he can hit for average. He's got 13 homers, so he's got some power, and he's got a lot more power than he's been able to exhibit so far in the big leagues. That's where they think he's really going to emerge as time goes on. And Jurgens blows a fastball right by him.
And John, I was talking about Manny's presence there. A lot of these young players have learned how to prepare themselves for the game and then how to make adjustments during the game. And I think that's what you learn from a veteran, especially when you're a young player or an inexperienced player trying to make your mark in the big leagues.
And he fouls that one. Kemp. As you see Manny looking on from the Dodger dugout. Kemp also has 22 stolen bases, and he's a Gold Glove caliber center fielder. There are not many better than him in center field right now.
And he's getting better. I mean, he was a basketball player for most of his childhood. Baseball came late, so he's still improving at the major league level.
And he tried to put him away with a high hard one, but Kemp fought that one off as well. Kemp has struck out 87 times in 382 at bats. So that's an area, I think, where he's hoping to improve, but I think that's already an improvement over last year. Matt Kemp. Russell Martin on deck, then Mark Loretta due up third in the inning. No score. And the slider kind of hung up there a little bit, fouled back to the screen. It's 0-2. Kemp also has 22 steals, so there's little he can't do on a baseball field. Last year, 153 strikeouts for the full season, so just about once per game. So there's been some improvement there anyway.
Well, I think a lot of it just comes with experience, John, and knowing the pitchers and know how each team tries to pitch you.
Jurgens with a 2-strike count, and the slider is in the dirt. Now we're seeing this pattern established here. Kemp fell behind in the count, but he's battling him and he's making him throw a lot of pitches. We saw that from several hitters in the first inning, and Jurgens only allowed one base runner in the first, but threw 19 pitches. That's part of the Dodgers game. They'll really give a pitcher a working over. This is the 7th pitch of the battle between the two, and it's fouled away. There will be at least one more.
Remember back in that first inning now, without Yunel Escobar in the game playing shortstop, that ground ball to Diori Hernandez, Escobar may have been able to make a play on that one. Hernandez backhanded it, double clutched a little bit, wasn't able to get the out, and that did lead to more pitches being thrown by Jurgens.
As you know, Escobar, they're hoping he'll be back in action tomorrow night when they open a series in San Diego. Fastball to the inside corner for the strikeout.
Well, John, I was talking to you about the fact that it's not just enough to get ahead of the hitter. You have to put him away. That doesn't mean you have to strike him out, but make him put the ball in play with a poor swing. So he got ahead 0-2, and look at these pitches. He doesn't even have to swing everything away. Not even close with those 3 pitches. Now it's 3-2, and that pitch was a pretty good pitch, though. Now he throws him a great pitch over the outside corner. But again, those are extra pitches that he's throwing, and in this day and age when you're working with pitch counts, it gets up there in a hurry.
Russell Martin fouls one back to the screen. But so that you saw something there that the Dodgers have seen a lot of.
Right.
An 0-2 count, all of a sudden it's 3-2.
Yeah. Letting the hitter back into the count is something that has been happening a lot lately.
Although it had a happy ending for Billingsley.
And it's one of the differences between Jurgens and Billingsley. Jurgens will not throw a pitch that a hitter doesn't have to make a decision on. Billingsley, those pitches when he was ahead of the count, he threw pitches that McCann didn't even have to make a decision on. It was a ball out of his hand.
0-1 the count to Russell Martin. And a slider in the dirt.
What happens a lot of times now, John, and I see it a lot with young pitchers or inexperienced pitchers, they get 0-2 and then they're going to make the perfect pitch. Everything's going to be perfect from then on. Instead of knowing that they have the guy on the defensive side, just go ahead and make him swing. Make him give you that defensive swing.
That gets by both of the diving Braves. Chipper at age 37. And the younger Hernandez right behind him. So a base hit for Russell Martin. Now let's go to the studio to Steve Berthiaume with the Sports Center right now. Wow, some excitement there. The Yankees, I suppose, needed somebody to do something extraordinary. They just got pounded a couple of times by the White Sox in Chicago this weekend. Russell Martin at first base. As Jurgens faces Mark Loretta, slider just off the outside. 1 ball to no strike. The Red Sox scored 18 runs in Baltimore today. Beat the Orioles 18-10. So they're a half game back of the Yankees in the American League East. And we will be at the new Yankee Stadium next Sunday night at 8 Eastern for the Yankees and the Red Sox. Tampa Bay 6 games back in the West. Tampa Bay won that division last year.
Big day for Victor Martinez, the Red Sox new acquisition. He's at 5 for 6 on the game today, and tremendous offensive day as the Red Sox offense got going a little bit. And that's really a big part of what's been causing them to struggle. And for the Yankees side of things, a big win with Melky Cabrera swinging the bat, but the Yankees starting pitching, no Chien-Ming Wang and Jabba Chamberlain at some point going to the bullpen.
And a fastball in there for a strike to Mark Loretta, starting in place of Casey Blake, who jammed his right wrist and apparently working out, doing some weight work after the game last night. Steve and I, Joe, we heard that story. We suggested that maybe on a Saturday night in Atlanta, instead of working out, he should go out and have a beer. Right back to Jurgens, and that is an inning-ending double play. We go to the last of the second. Garrett Anderson and then Adam LaRoche coming up. Go for the Pocono sweep tomorrow, while Kyle Busch, currently on the outside of the chase standings looking in, must put together a strong run to qualify for NASCAR's playoffs, the chase for the Sprint Cup. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Pocono, presented by Old Spice. Coverage begins tomorrow at noon Eastern on ESPN. You guys didn't know I kept such close track of the...
Yeah, I did not know that. You know what? I think when Joe and I were in the gym working out today, you must have been bearing down on the Pocono race, huh?
Yeah, I was bearing down on it, but it got rained out. What a disappointment. So here is Garrett Anderson against that man, Chad Billingsley. The Dodgers are hoping to see a return to form. When the season ended last year, Chad Billingsley was the ace of the Dodgers staff. Maybe not a number one ace that you think of like Maddox and Tom Glavine and Smoltz used to be in here in Atlanta, but as a young guy, he was their best, and with the hope of getting better. And when this season started, he was better than last year. He got off to a fabulous start. And not so long ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, he was tied with San Francisco's Matt Cain for the league lead in victories. He was 9-1, but he has fallen upon hard times since then.
Well, John, it takes a long time to grow into a number one. It's not something that happens usually in your first couple of years. You have to grow into that, because what happens is just what you're talking about. He may not be throwing as well now as he was at the beginning of the season. You have to learn to be able to pitch with plan B instead of always going out there with plan A. That's the difference. And Ace can do that.
So it's plan A versus plan B.
Yeah, plan A is when you just go out there with your best stuff and let it rip. But in plan B, if you don't have your best stuff, you got to change your patterns. You can't start everybody off with a fastball. You have to do something different. And most of your stars, I mean, they were talking to me the other day about Chris Carpenter over in St. Louis, pitching against the Dodgers. He did not have his best stuff that day. So he was a little here, a little there, but he's an ace. He knows how to win with plan B.
So that was a plan B night.
That's plan B night.
Yeah. What happens if you have to go to plan C?
Well, then you're usually in the dugout. You don't get to plan C in the big leagues anymore.
Here comes the bullpen. That is caught by Furcal. He tracked that one down. He took off, sprinted into the outfield, timed his leap perfectly.
Definitely. I mean, he got a good jump on it. You know, it's funny. You say you get a good jump on the infield, but watch him react. He starts right away, and he knows exactly where the ball's going to end up. He doesn't circle it. He doesn't veer off. He goes straight to where that ball is going to end up. See the angle he took? That's the only way he would have been able to catch that ball. And you do get good jumps on the infield on little short line drives like that.
Garrett Anderson got robbed, and here is Adam LaRoche.
Just so you remember, Rafael Furcal, that back injury last year, that to me shows his back is healthy. How quickly he was able to turn, rotate, accelerate, and then jump in the air to be able to twist and make that catch. His back is healthy.
Adam LaRoche back here with the Braves. And on Friday, he was at Camden Yards in Baltimore with the Boston Red Sox. And before the game, they told him, you're probably not going to be in there tonight. Maybe you shouldn't even put the uniform on. And he had quite an odyssey trying to get here for yesterday's game, because he tried to fly from Baltimore back to Boston Friday night to pack up and get here on Saturday morning first thing, but his flight got canceled. And it was almost a miracle that he got here about an hour before game time yesterday, as it was, from Boston. And it came in with his Red Sox equipment bag.
Now, Frank Wren, the general manager for the Atlanta Braves, made the swap of Casey Kosman for Adam LaRoche because the Braves need power. They don't have any real impact power in their lineup.
Just off the inside.
And they're hoping that LaRoche will bring some power. His 13 home runs this year. Casey Kosman had only had 6, and they need somebody to hit the ball out of the ballpark. Get somebody on base and let this young guy try to drive it out of the ballpark. He's about as good defensively as Kosman, who is very, very good, but a little bit more power in the swing.
And there is that off-speed pitch from Billingsley, and he's got his 3rd strikeout.
Johnny has an excellent curveball tonight. Billingsley is what he's doing with his curveball. He starts it in the strike zone, and because it's a power curve, it breaks out, and you get a lot of people chasing it. Right there, the Chipper Jones. See, that's a power curve. It starts in the strike zone, but they end up breaking out of the strike zone. That one's on a perfect line. But again, you do not have a lot of time to look for it and read the spin, because he has such a good hard curveball, and he's throwing it excellent spots tonight so far, keeping it down.
Matt Diaz swings and misses at a good fastball, a little movement to it, running away.
See, I think he has good enough stuff to be a number 1 guy. He just has to learn to be a number 1 guy. He shows you that even in this, just in this first couple of innings. You see that he has a great fastball, he has a great curveball, he has a changeup that he'll throw sometimes. So, I mean, he has all the equipment to be a number 1 guy. So it's just a matter of learning to be able to do that. And I think that's one of the reasons the Dodgers maybe didn't go out and try to get. I'm sure they wanted Halladay or some of those guys, but they weren't willing to pay what it would take to get him there.
Well, it might have taken Billingsley,
Right,
or Kershaw,
yeah,
or maybe both of them.
well, they couldn't give him both, but I
They
agree.
might have had to get Koufax back in the shape and give him up.
Yeah.
That's a foul by Diaz.
One of the things for Chad Billingsley where he has struggled over the last 6 starts, we see the curveball tonight. But when you have a curveball that you throw down in the zone, you need to go up in the zone with a fastball to change the hitter's eye level. What he has gotten away from is the fastball up in the zone. Now, we saw him throw one to Matt Diaz during this at-bat, the preceding fastball before the last one. That's a pitch he has to be able to throw. It looks good in the hitter's eyes. It also makes the curveball more effective.
Right to Furcal. 3 up and 3 down. Orlando Hudson coming up against Jurgens. We go to the 3rd inning. 0-0.
Presented by Taco Bell. Brought to you by Chevy. And Kevin Woodstains. Our performance is legendary.
And the panoramic view of Turner Field, not far from downtown Atlanta. This is Sunday Night Baseball. I'm John Miller with Hall of Famer Joe Morgan and Steve Phillips. And that is a base hit past the dive of Prado off the bat of Orlando Hudson. He has the big turn at first, but McLeod hurries it back, and he'll hold with a single.
Well, you wonder why Hudson's hitting 8th now, because he started the season hitting at the top of the order. Well, he was struggling for a little bit, and Joe said, I'm just going to put you down there for a little while to take the pressure off. I expect that he will move back to the top because he adds some speed to the top of the lineup.
So Hudson is aboard, and the batter will be Billingsley. And I'm thinking bunt right here.
I'll tell you, you are good. You are really, you know what? We've got 2 Hall of Fame future managers here with Bobby Cox and Joe Torre, but they've got nothing on you, John.
They both know that. Good execution there, too.
Jurgens looks at second, but he'll go to first with Prado covering. And he has executed.
Well, that's one thing I always think. When you have speed at first base, a pitcher should know he doesn't have to make a perfect bunt. Just get the ball down to the right side. And Orlando Hudson, with his speed, will put the pressure on the defense to make the decision. Keep the barrel of the bat high. See, that's perfect. I mean, he kept the barrel of the bat above the ball, and then you just play catch with your right hand. That's what you're supposed to do. Barrel of the bat high and catch it with your right hand. If you're right-handed, catch it with your left hand if you're left-handed. Just play catch with that barrel of the bat.
There's no plan B there.
No, just get it done.
Here is Rafael Furcal. The runner in scoring position. Furcal tried to bunt his way aboard leading off the game and hit a one-hopper to the second baseman Prado, who threw him out.
A lot of times a guy will bunt and he's out, like Furcal was, and people say that's a wasted at bat. Really, it isn't. Because of the course of a season, if you bunt enough times, you're going to beat some out. I mean, even if you beat 1 out of 3 out, that's hitting .333. It doesn't seem that way to a hitter, but if you get 1 out of 3 down, that's like swinging the bat 3 times and getting a base hit, and you're happy with that. So I think that's why Furcal continues to bunt so much.
Brett Butler was one of the great bunters of his time or any other time. And he said that somebody actually added up all of his bunts and said if you took away all of the times he attempted a bunt, put a bunt in play, his lifetime batting average was 20 points lower than it ended up being.
Well, it's hard to convince young players of that, though. I mean, it's hard. Thinking back, Nellie Fox tried to convince me of that, but I didn't listen. But anyway, I mean, I think that's something that if young players would adhere to, especially leadoff guys, you know, make them come in all corners. You're going to hit some balls past them. But when you make it out, a lot of times guys say, well, I'm not going to bunt again because I gave myself up. But you're not really giving yourself up.
And a swinging strike by Furcal on a 92-mile-an-hour fastball from Jurgens. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, Joe, I think what you really needed a manager like John to be able to really kind of, get that bunt into your head.
Well, each year, Pete and I would have a bet at the beginning of the year who would get the most bunt hits. I never won.
But you bunted on occasion?
On occasion. I sacrificed more than I tried to beat out for a base hit. I really did.
I don't remember ever seeing any of those games.
Did you think it might take away from your ability to hit a double and slug?
I did. Yeah. But by the same token, if I bunt and get on, I can steal second base. So it just wasn't smart on my part.
But Pete Rose was pretty good bunter?
Yeah, he would bunt a lot. But he'd end up with 10 or 12.
Now they've got Hudson hung up. Jurgens runs right toward him. Now Hernandez.
Well, good job by Hudson to stay alive long enough.
And finally, with the runner for College second, they get Hudson out.
Well, Jurgens did the right thing. He ran right at him, but he should have run him back harder and given the ball up to the second baseman. He allowed Hudson to fake him and stay in the rundown a little too long to watch. He does a great thing right here. Now he runs right at him. That's what you're supposed to do. But keep running. Don't throw it. So you keep running at him, and that would have kept Furcal from turning first base and coming into second. But a good job by Hudson, good job by Furcal, and actually a good job by Jurgens because he ran at him.
You want the guy to commit before you throw the ball.
You want him to run him back to second, commit back to second, throw the ball, let him tag him out. Because a lot of times in spring training you work on that to get a double play, not just to get him out, but get the runner that's coming around as well.
So here is Andre Ethier. But as you say, Hudson did a good job once he was in the rundown. Wasn't a good job getting hung up like that, but once he did, he stayed in the rundown long enough that Furcal was able to get himself in scoring position. And Ethier is the man who's driving those guys in these days for the Dodgers. And a foul.
I will say, you're right. It wasn't a great decision by Orlando Hudson. I think if that ball does get by Jurgens, he easily gets to third base. But what I've seen from the Dodgers so far in this game, aggressiveness. They got Russell Martin had a base hit, big turn at first base. The secondary lead that Orlando Hudson took was very aggressive. And outfield for call on second base doing the same thing right now. That's a credit to the intensity that Joe Torre demands of his players.
1 ball and 2 strikes. The Dodgers are 13th in the National League as a team for hitting home runs. So there's not a whole lot of instant offense. Now Manny is going to have those weeks where he hits 6 or 7 in a week, and right now Ethier is doing that. But up and down the lineup, they don't hit a lot of home runs, so they rely on getting men on base. They have a very high on base percentage, and they hit well in the clutch, and they just play, as Steve said, with that intense brio. 2-2 the count.
It is the one thing in the game that you can control. You can't oftentimes control. You hit a ball hard right at somebody. Somebody runs it down, makes a great play. But your effort running the bases is something, in a game of inches, that extra effort, that extra secondary lead on a bang-bang play at the plate can be the difference between being out and being safe.
With 2 down, no score in the game. for Kyle, the runner at second. Ethier hit a single his first time, and this time he draws a walk. He draws a walk in front of Manny Ramirez.
Well, I think they're aware that Manny hasn't been swinging the bat well either, John. And the fact that they threw him a 3-1 fastball last time inside tells me that they feel like they can get inside on Manny.
Manny Ramirez is 1 for his last 19. 1 for 19, and at bats ending with a pitch inside. And we saw Jurgens trying to pound him in during that first at bat.
But the key pitch in that at bat was the breaking ball away on 2-1. Then he came back inside 3-1.
2 men on, 2 men out. And one of the great RBI men of his or any other time, Manny Ramirez, who is facing Jurgens for the first time in his career tonight. He fouled out to the first baseman on a 3-1 pitch in the first.
Over the years of watching Manny, when he's not swinging the bat well, he is more vulnerable to the inside fastball than at other times.
On the outside corner of the fastball.
And see, that's why Jurgens was successful the first time up. He's able to go away and then come back inside. He didn't just stay inside every pitch, although he threw 3 pitches inside last time. But Manny's, I'm never going to underestimate how smart a hitter he is either. He will make the adjustment.
There's that inside fastball, and the swing just broke down right in the middle.
Well, he missed the location.
And the other thing, that was 95 miles per hour. Jurgens has been 91, 92, 93, and when he needs to make a big pitch, you see him set up away. This kind of gets away from him. He misses his spot, but at 95, you can make a mistake and get away with it, especially up and in to a guy struggling on that inside fastball.
Now, that pitch never started in the strike zone.
Looking for callback at second base, for Kyle at second, Ethier at first. Manny Ramirez, that no RBIs in his last 39 plate appearances, including 34 official at-bats. He walked 5 times in that stretch.
John, I think Jurgens stepped off then because he changed his mind on the pitch. I don't think he wasn't worried about for call at the second base. Now he's having trouble getting the sign. But so I really think that he changed his mind just before he made the delivery. So he stepped off, act like he was looking for call at second base. That was what he was doing. He wanted to make another pitch, but I think McCann wants him to make the pitch that he called for.
How calm is this 23-year-old kid with Manny Ramirez at the plate? He doesn't seem flustered or bothered in any way, shape, or form. It's kind of like, hey, I've been here before. I'll make a pitch and do it again.
A ball and 2 strikes to count. James Loney on deck, would be next. Strike 3 call to the outside corner. He changed up on him at the knees.
And I think that was what McCann wanted him to do. I think he was saying, don't get too cocky and try to pitch Manny inside too often.
2 men stranded. Billingsley back to the hill. No score. Turner Field in Atlanta. The Dodgers first place in the West. The Braves battling in the wild card division right now, still with hopes of making a great comeback on the Phillies in the East. Manny Ramirez 0 for 2, the first time he has ever faced the young Braves right-hander Jair Jurgens.
And John, a lot of young pitchers have an advantage over veterans because they've never seen him before. See the pitch away that was called a ball, but everything else was inside. There's a 3-1 pitch, fastball in that he got him out on. He wanted to go back inside again on this last pitch, but that's what a veteran catcher will do. He says, no, let's not stay inside. Let's go do something different. And that's why they had the conference on the mound. So this time he gets him away. First time it was called a ball, and then it was called a strike. So same pitch.
Here is Diori Hernandez, who is filling in right now. He's the fill-in for the fill-in, really. The regular shortstop is Yunel Escobar. When the Braves got hot, Chipper Jones started hitting home runs. Martin Prado was hitting a lot of base hits, and Yunel Escobar was on fire. Right after the All-Star break, you just could not get him out as it goes to 1-1. But now Escobar got a hit with a pitch in the hand the other night. And they're hoping he'll be able to play tomorrow night. And Omar Infante, the regular utility infielder who would normally be in there when Escobar is out, is still on the disabled list, although they're hoping he's going to be back shortly. So Hernandez is the man right now at shortstop this weekend against the Los Angeles Dodgers. But he's hitting only 150 in the big leagues this year. He had a big hit yesterday to tie up the ball game, though, against the Dodgers in the 6th inning.
But it is a major drop-off. I mean, Yunel Escobar hitting over 300 this year. A guy hitting 427 with runners in scoring position. I mean, Escobar, a two-way player. He can make some great plays defensively and support the pitching staff, but he is a big part of this offensive turnaround as well.
Strike 3 called with that curveball.
Well, we talk a lot about Chipper Jones, but it's Yunel Escobar that's leading the team in runs batted in. And he doesn't get the credit that he deserves, and that's because of Chipper Jones.
Well, here is Escobar Thursday night, and he got a hit by Vandenherk down in Miami. And that has put him on the shelf here for a few days. Jurgens, the pitcher, up against Billingsley, and it's 0-1.
But, you know, I've told you all the time how much I like Escobar. Just watching him defensively, and now he's such a good hitter, and he's become a good RBI man as well. I mean, when you have a young shortstop like that, he's just going to get better and better.
Escobar, 26 years old, Cuban emigre, defected from Cuba. They've got enormous talent and a very exciting player to watch on the field.
But I mean, most people just assume that Chipper Jones leads the team in runs batted in, and they don't give him the credit that he deserves.
Escobar is hitting .305, 11 homers and 58 runs batted in. And he had missed some games already this year, even before these last few days. Played in 87 of their first 104 games, and still leads the club in RBIs. Did it sound like Harry Belafonte just entered the building?
Yes, it does.
1-2 the count. And he just got a piece of that curveball. And is he okay?
He's taking a long walk out of the box, and when that happens, and he looked like he was grimacing a little bit, you wonder if something has bothered him. You got a breaking ball down on the zone. Interesting, Billingsley going back-to-back curveballs on him, trying to put him away for the strikeout. You see him kind of reach and extend to try to make contact with that. Maybe just catching his breath a little bit.
Struck him out with a fastball. That's 5 strikeouts for Billingsley in 2 2/3 innings. Tomorrow night, Monday Night Baseball, presented by Holiday Inn at 7 Eastern. And the Chicago Cubs, they lost a heartbreaker in Miami tonight. They take on the Cincinnati Reds. Then, on Wednesday Night Baseball, 2 big American League East rivals will face off, presented by Smirnoff Ice. The Red Sox and the Rays at 7 Eastern. ESPN News will be shown Wednesday in the Boston and Tampa St. Pete markets. And there is a strike on the inside to leadoff man Nate McLouth. McLouth grounded out to third his first time. Braves did a makeover. Frank Wren, their general manager. Chipper Jones kind of put it this way a couple of weeks ago. He said, you know, the difference is we had, and you see the trainer working with Jurgens now and looking at that right leg, or I beg your pardon, the left leg.
Something's bugging him on that swing. He kind of came out of there and you wondered what was happening, but when the trainer comes over to talk to you, something's going on.
Curveball, check swing, an appeal made, denied by Tom Hallion, the third base umpire. But Chipper basically said we had really 3 guys in the order that were just making outs. There were 3 outs in the order, and we made some changes, and now those 3 spots are productive, and we have much better balance in the lineup. And McLouth was one of them. That ball is hammered, 1 hop against the wall. A double for Nate McLouth.
One of the other things about learning to be a number 1, John, is to be able to finish off an inning. You see a lot of times with young players, pitchers, they will get the first 2 outs and then they're not able to close the door like they should. Billingsley throws a fastball away, and a good job by McLouth to go the other way. But, I mean, he had him set up for a breaking ball, but he threw a fastball away. I mean, he was throwing his curveball, getting good strikes, getting results, and he changes. But the real key is when you get 2 outs as a starting pitcher, that 3rd out is the one you have to make sure you get after you get that first 2. You can't just go up there and let somebody put the ball in play as he did there with McLeod.
Prado hit a double to center his first time, and now a base hit could mean the first run of the game, but McLeod in scoring position.
Well, that double by Prado came on a first pitch high fastball in the zone that he drove out to the gap. Billingsley now man on second base. First pitch comes with a curveball, changing up his approach, knowing that he has first base open, but he wants to get Prado and not have to face Chipper Jones, who's 10 for his last 21 with runners in scoring position.
And a fastball in there for a strike. 1-1 to Prado. Prado has cooled off just a little bit, but not a whole lot. He's hitting .313 for the season. You see the Braves have been very good in spots like this as a team. 2 down and runner in scoring position, and the fastball to strike. It's 1-2. Prado got a hot. Kelly Johnson, the regular second baseman, struggled all through the first half of the year. Finally, they sent him back to the minor leagues, and Prado stepped in. You see, since the end of June, he's hit .342, and he's the everyday guy now. Can't get him out of there. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Chipper Jones would be next. And the curveball down and away.
So, and I think what happens sometimes with Billingsley is that when he gets 2 strikes, he wants to make that perfect pitch. And, you know, you can do that sometimes, but when you miss and you continue to miss, you get the hitter back into the count. You let him back on even terms. Because as you said, Chipper Jones is in the on-deck circle.
That can get your attention.
That should get your attention.
Better end this inning right here. 2-2 the count.
He's going to go fastball in, which I don't understand, but.
And he did not get it in.
Yeah.
Pop fly, and there's the Gold Glover Orlando Hudson in foul territory.
Well, he got lucky. He missed his spot.
All's well that ends well. James Loney coming up. Then Matt Kemp in the 4th inning. It's kind of refreshing. That lets in Hawaii they call that shave ice.
I want a blue one. I want a blue one.
Oh yeah, blue. That's a good flavor.
If I get it on my tie, it won't show up.
Now that is blue from a former Mets general manager. Of course.
Uh-oh. Let me tell you what, they're blue right now with the New York Mets.
Give Joe a red one.
That's right.
Here is James Loney hitting cleanup for the Dodgers. The Dodgers cleanup hitter has hit 7 home runs for the year.
But he does have 64 ribbies, so that's not all bad.
He's been a very reliable RBI man.
Yeah. But you would prefer that he hit a few more home runs. You would prefer for him to hit the ball to get you a run when nobody else is on base occasionally.
Now, Joe Torre didn't say as much, but I'm sure Joe's preference would be even more long balls. And then a change up from Jurgens, swung on and missed. It's 0-2. Loney flied out to left. His first time. He's another one of those young guys. You've got Ethier, Loney, Kemp, Russell Martin. That's just the young guys in the lineup with several young pitchers as well. And we're seeing one of those tonight, Chad Billingsley. Clayton Kershaw goes tomorrow night when they get home to face Milwaukee. Wow, he went up after that high fastball, and McLeod just in front of it. It's a base hit for Loney. Talking about Chad Billingsley, the young Dodger pitcher, facing Martin Prado to end the 3rd inning.
Well, he threw him a couple of fastballs. Now watch the target. Target's in, but see, Russell Martin moves too quickly. He's sitting there too long. He tells the hitter that it's going to be something hard. If you're inside, you're not going to throw a changeup inside or a curveball inside. So when you set up inside late like that, early like that, you're telling the hitter that it's going to be a fastball.
That's a fastball way inside to Matt Kemp. Dangerous right-handed hitter. He was called out on strikes his first time. By the way, we saw McLeod almost make that sliding catch. He made one yesterday against the Dodgers here and turned it into a double play. And the changeup high and outside. Now he's falling behind Kemp, 2-0.
That's a tough play for Nate McLeod. That kind of hard-sinking liner coming at you in center field. And the ball hit directly at you. A lot of times is a difficult one to be able to gauge, but nice effort right there. And now James Loney going up on that high fastball. And he's not a home run hitter, but he's a good hitter, being able to drive that ball to center field. Take a look at McLeod getting the jump on that ball. Does the best he can to create an angle to come with the ball on the side. He just squeaks out of his glove right there. And I keep telling you, he thought he should have had it.
He looked into the glove and said, "What?
Where'd it go?
Where is it?"
Well, he actually got too far toward right center. I think that's why he missed it. I mean, I think that's what happened if you watched it, because he was there, but he was too far. His body was angling back from right center field, and the ball was almost straight away center field. I think it was, as you're saying, when it's hit directly at you, you try to create an angle so you can gauge where it's going.
2-1 to Matt Kemp. Jurgens challenged it with a high hard one, and this one is ripped into left field. Garrett Anderson cuts it off around second, and holding is Loney. And the Dodgers have 2 men on with nobody out on the Kemp single.
Well, Matt Kemp got a ball up in the zone here as you take a look at the 4K zone, and you see Brian McCann set him away. Jurgens, though, leaves that fastball over the heart of the plate. Matt Kemp drives that ball down the left field line. Good piece of hitting right there. One of the few mistakes with his fastball that we've seen from Jair Jurgens in this game.
So now Russell Martin, who hit a single his first time. With Loretta behind him. Martin only 3 home runs this year, which, I don't know about Joe Torre's preference for maybe some guys hitting a few more homers. Martin hit 42 homers in his first three full seasons in the big leagues. As many as 19 in a season, but averaging 14 a year. Only 3.
I know it's not his normal style, but I would not be surprised if they didn't drop a bunt down here trying to make sure they get some runs, because it's very difficult to score runs off of Jurgens, because if you look at him, I mean, at 2.69 earned run average, that's pretty good in this day and age.
One of the best in the National League. Fastball to strike.
Martin grounded into 11 double plays this year, so a guy that if Jurgens gets that slider away could get him to roll over a little bit on that ground ball and try to get a double play.
He's had a look at Larry Boa, the third base coach. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. You've got Loney at second, Kemp at first. And that changeup is hit high in the air to left center. There is Garrett Anderson. So no bunt and no movement by the runners. A non-productive out for Russell Martin. Now time for our lows. Home team advantage. And Jurgens in his last 4 starts with runners on base. Look at that batting average against. 0.69. That's a bad hitting pitcher. And with runners in scoring position, 0.56. That is when he's tough at all time. But you threaten him, you put men on base, then he really kicks it in. Loretta, ball 1.
And that's a sign of a great pitcher for me. A guy that look, he throws his pitches. He doesn't work too hard for a period of time, but when he gets in trouble is when he makes his best pitches. You know, when Greg Maddux was here, he used to throw most of his bullpen sessions warming up from the stretch because he said, my most critical pitches come from the stretch. I need to practice that the most.
That's up the middle and caught by Prado. Back to first. Safe at first. And a beautiful save at first base on that high throw by Adam LaRoche, and still managed to get his foot in the bag.
Well, it was close play at first. I wasn't sure if LaRoche touched the bag on his way down, but you're right. An excellent job by Prado, and he knew where he was going right away. Look how quickly he throws the ball to first base. And he does come down on it, but I guess his hand was back in time. Nice play by Prado. And to watch when he hits the ground, he's turning to throw to first base already.
Now, there's a lot going on there, a lot of traffic.
Yeah, but he did get his foot back in, and actually, LaRoche never did touch the bag.
He straddled it,
yeah,
but the foot never made contact with the bag, as we saw clearly there. Kemp able to get back in time. And think about LaRoche, he's going after the ball. He can't let that ball get away from him. The runner's going to advance. And at the same time, there's the sliding Matt Kemp to contend with as he got airborne. Very acrobatic maneuvering there by Adam LaRoche.
Again, pointing out good base running by the Dodgers on that one. That line drive, you have to freeze up, not wanting to get doubled up. James Loney knew that he couldn't go and had to come back. It's knowing where the defenders are before the pitch is going to the plate.
Orlando Hudson, who hit a single his first time. Now he's behind in the count to Jurgens. 1 ball and 2 strikes. We showed that graphic about how tough Jurgens has been with men on base. They've been in scoring position lately. Tonight, the Dodgers are 0 for 4 in their at-bats with runners in scoring position. 2 men on, 2 men out. And strike. No swing. I don't know what the third base umpire Hallion was waiting for. Scott Berry was pointing down to him. Maybe Hallion thought he was ringing him up.
I think he was waiting for the Braves to get in the dugout before he signaled it, because Scott Berry signaled rather quickly as Orlando Hudson checks a swing and falls over the plate. See the check swing and his body turned around, but he really didn't swing the bat. The bat's still on his shoulder there. Tom Hallion saying, no, everybody calm down, I've got it. He didn't swing.
2-2 the count. The high fastball is punched foul into the crowd. So it really was an excellent call by Hallion.
It is interesting, though, that Jurgens, when he needs more fastball, he has it. And you really like that in a young pitcher, where he can take his stuff to another level. We saw that fastball at 93. We saw the one earlier to Manny Ramirez at 95. A lot of times, the first pitch fastball he'll throw is at 90 miles per hour.
2-2. Checks off the outside with a changeup. Now it's a 3-2 count. You saw that's his 70th pitch. And this is very common with the Dodgers. It's a very deep lineup. They don't have the one big home run slugger this year. And Manny Ramirez missing all of those games and slumping right now. But anybody in the lineup can hurt you. Runners go. And it's a walk. The inning goes on. But the pitcher, Billingsley, coming out.
Well, not surprisingly, he went with a changeup right there with the pitcher coming up next. He threw his pitch trying to get Orlando Hudson off balance. He didn't want to come in with a fastball and give him something he could lace over the infielder's head. I think it was the right pitch selection. He just didn't throw it for a strike.
Now, Jurgens is only 23 years old. And the Braves don't like to have him go much beyond 100 pitches in a game. The Dodgers have already coaxed 71 pitches out of him, and he's still working here in the 4th inning. He's averaged about 6 innings per start. He has thrown as many, however, as 120 pitches. Here's Chad Billingsley, had a sacrifice bunt his first time. And he had a pretty good looking swing on that one. Billingsley came into the game hitting .205, 2 doubles and a home run in 39 at bats. He's knocked in 3 runs. So Billingsley may figure, hey, I just have to do it myself. Bases loaded. And that is just off the outside.
Well, I don't know about throwing him a changeup right there. You throw him a changeup away, hoping he kind of gets out in front. But I'd rather see a breaking ball or a fastball and not the changeup. You're slowing it down for a pitcher to be able to try to hit it when you're throwing the changeup.
There's a good hard slider. 1 and 2. The Dodgers have Loney at third, Kemp at second. Both of them hit singles to start the inning. They've been on base this entire inning. Hudson, who walked with 2 down, is at first. No score in the game in the 4th inning. 2-2. Got a little extra in that fastball, but missed off the outside.
Even with the pitcher in there, you know what? He went to 95. He went hard with it. I would have gone with that high fastball, kind of an higher than high fastball that looks good, but a pitcher couldn't catch up to it if you throw it at 93 to 95.
And the Dodgers leave them loaded. A 24-pitch inning for Jurgens. The Dodgers 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. We'll be visiting with Joe Torre for the Dodger dugout in 60 seconds.
Hit on the hand, Joe, by Homer Bailey. He hasn't hit a ball hard, in your words, since he pinch hit and hit a home run the next day. When do you get concerned about Manny?
Yeah, you know what? I don't think it's anything physical, Joe. I think it's just a matter of working on his swing. He's been a little bothered by it. There's no question. He's getting a little long. I think you noticed that. And you know, normally he's got such a good path to the ball, but right now it looks like he's coming off it.
Billingsley has 52 pitches. He's throwing great. Do you have a pitch limit for him tonight?
Not really. I mean, he's been a horse for us all year. You know, he'll throw 115, 120 if we need to have him throw that many, as long as he's not struggling doing that. I mean, if he's pitching the way he is right now, we can ride him for 7 or 8 innings.
All right. Thank you, Joe.
All right, guys.
Joe Torre, Dodger manager, many thanks. Dodgers head home to Dodger Stadium after the ball game. Both ball clubs, in fact, are heading west for games tomorrow night. The Dodgers going home to take on Ken Maka's Milwaukee Brewers. They'll be having to contend with Ryan Braun, Prince Fielder and company. The Brewers are a team that did not add a starting pitcher, and that was really their big need at the trading deadline. Not this year. Last year they got the ultimate prize, CC Sabathia, but not this year.
John, I thought it was interesting. Joe said that there's no doubt that Manny's hand is bothering him a little bit, although Manny has denied that it's bothering him.
Chipper Jones takes a called strike from Billingsley.
Joe, with the numbers that we talked about, Manny being 1 for 19 in the last few at-bats where they pitched him inside, does that play to the hand being injured?
I think it definitely does, but I guess if you're Manny, you don't want people to think that you're injured because they will constantly pitch you inside. But there's no doubt in my mind that there's something wrong with him. He's not swinging the bat as well as he normally does. Then Joe mentioned his path to the ball. That means him being able to go directly to that inside pitch.
It's interesting as we talk about Manny's injured hand, and here is how he got hurt.
And that's Homer Bailey of the Cincinnati Reds hitting on the left hand. A lot of people say Hank Bailey's only been hitting bats since he's been up, but he hit Manny in the hand right there.
Tough name for a pitcher, Homer.
Yeah, Homer.
And back to that breaking ball. The Chipper saw just about all breaking balls the first time up when Billingsley struck him out. This time, until that last pitch, he'd seen nothing but fastball.
Well, that's what you have to do. It's about adjusting as you go through the course of the game. Make adjustments. You show him curveball early, then he might look curveball. You've got to come back with a fastball. Now he could really go either way as he's showing Chipper the fastballs and the breaking ball in the last pitch.
Back to the big curveball. That's a big, slow, dropping curveball, strike 3.
Well, that's what they've been trying to get him to do, John, not just the power curveball. Take a little bit off so you're showing them a different speed. But as you said, Chipper making adjustments. He was going up there looking for a curveball, I guarantee you, and he threw him a couple of fastballs. That tells you right there he was definitely looking for a curveball. And just a great sequence there by Billingsley and Martin, because Chipper was definitely looking for a breaking ball, because when he takes that fastball right down the middle, that tells you right there he's looking breaking ball.
So it was interesting, the curveball that he fouled off was 78 miles per hour. The one he swung and missed at was 68 miles per hour. That's taken a lot off that curveball. Really good pitch.
Here's Brian McCann. McCann struck out his first time. Orlando Hudson. And 2 men down. Let's go to the studio. Steve Berthiaume with the Sports Center right now. Hamels was beaten by the Giants' Barry Zito in San Francisco today. The Giants took 3 out of 4 from the Phillies, even though one of their best pitchers, Matt Cain, did not appear in the series. And the Florida Marlins, by the way, are only 5 games back of the Phillies in the National League East. And this is, remember, the Phillies are about the hottest team on the planet for the month of July. They were 20-7 in July. It was their best month, the best single month since 1890. You see the Marlins now just 5 back. The Braves are 6.5 back. Garrett Anderson and Billingsley grabs that one. Loney with the put out. And that is a quick inning for Chad Billingsley. 10-pitch inning. Derek Lowe will visit with us in 60 seconds. Former Dodger, now a Braves right-hander. Back with Derek Lowe in 60. Sunday night baseball, and Steve Phillips has a special guest.
Joined now from the Atlanta Braves dugout, Derek Lowe, former Los Angeles Dodger, now Atlanta Braves starting pitcher. And, take us through Jair Jurgens on the mound right now. He looked like maybe something happened with his leg. But what do you see from the dugout as to how he's pitching through this game?
Well, this is how he's been pitching all year. He's got phenomenal stuff, and I think his changeup I think sets him apart from most right-handers. But his record isn't indicative of how he's pitched. He could easily have 12, 13 wins, but our starting pitching this year has been phenomenal, and he leads the way.
Now, what have you been able to kind of help him with, coming over, veteran pitcher with a young guy on the mound?
I learned from him. To be honest with you, I think there's so much that he already knows. But we talked a little bit earlier in spring training about maybe working his way a little bit more towards the first base side, because he throws across the body much like myself, and that's about the only thing that we've really ever talked about.
You got the win yesterday against your former team. What's it like pitching against your former teammates?
They're tough. There's no doubt about it. I enjoyed it. A lot of those guys I've never faced, but you can see why they have the best record in the National League. They're so well balanced, and Joe does a great job of managing them.
Well, Derek, appreciate the time.
Thank you very much.
Derek Lowe, and he is now an 11-game winner, even though he had a terrible stretch before the All-Star break. He had a 5-start period. His earned run average was 8.61, but he has definitely turned that around now, as the Braves have turned their season around. And Lowe has been doing just what they acquired him to do. 11 wins, 7 losses in 23 starts. Rafael Furcal thrown out on a bunt attempt in the first, hit into a fielder's choice in the third. He's 0 for 2 facing Jurgens. Prado gets in front of him, and one away. Furcal is 0 for 3.
One of the things we have to keep an eye on, Jair Jurgens, remember, we thought he might have hurt his leg in that last at bat. Sometimes if it's your lead leg, the ball's going to be up in the zone, and here's the put away pitch on the 3 outs in the last inning. Up in the zone, you see the base hit from Kemp there, the ball up in the zone, a lot of balls over the heart of the plate where he'd been working the corners down in the zone. You got a lot of balls up in the zone last inning, so you wonder whether or not that left leg was injured, because if it is, a lot of times you don't get out over the top of it, and you end up elevating your pitches.
It was a very difficult inning for him all the way around. 24 pitches in the 1 inning alone. As strike one to Andre Ethier, who has had a single and a walk in this game. Into the Dodgers' power now. Ethier, then Manny Ramirez on deck. And Ethier with 22 home runs this year. He is among the leaders in the league in that category. 9th in the league in home runs. And the changeup got that one down. And it's 0-2. You look at the Phillies, and their lineup is impressive. Ryan Howard, 26 homers. And Ibanez, 26. Chase Utley, 23. Worth, 22. The Dodgers lineup is also a prolific offensive group, but not built the same way. Another changeup. Strike 3.
Well, Ethier had no chance on any of the changeups. He's way out in front on all of these pitches. The last 2 pitches both were changeup, and he's way out in front on both of them. Look at the target. Great target. Great pitch there. And he's way out in front, completely fooled. I guess you can tell that's Manny Ramirez coming up.
And that look from K-Zone brought to you by Ford. Manny is 0 for 2 in the game. McLeod, base hit.
Well, they let Manny off with a changeup right there again. They can bust him inside with a fastball. They've gone away with a fastball on the slider. So he says, look, 3rd time through, let me try something a little bit different. He went with the changeup, but it was up in the zone. You see Brian McCann setting up away. This is a changeup up in the zone over the heart of the plate, giving Manny Ramirez enough of the good part of the bat to get on the ball. Manny didn't crush that, but he got enough of the good part of it on it to be able to drop it into center field for a base hit.
Only Manny's 2nd hit in this weekend series. 2 hits in 10 at-bats. Now James Loney is flied out to left and single. The Dodgers have 6 hits against the Jurgens. They have put 8 men on base against him in these first 5 innings, but no runs. They're 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. And that has been an area where the Dodgers have excelled most of this year. Back to the bag is Manny Ramirez. Do you think they're really afraid Manny's going to try to steal a bag here?
I can't imagine. I think it's just kind of fun to pick on Manny a little bit.
Manny has not stolen a base, nor has he attempted to steal a base this year. Jurgens is only, as you might expect, with a very low earned run average, given up more than 2 runs at just a handful of times. 1 ball and 1 strike to count to James Loney. LaRoche on the bag at first with Manny. 2 former Red Sox over there. Although LaRoche was there considerably shorter period of time than was Manny. LaRoche 6 games, a member of the Red Sox. There was quite a bit of action at the trading deadline on Friday.
A lot of action. I tell you what, interesting thing, only 1 reliever traded. Usually at the trade deadline, that's the opportunity for teams to supplement their bullpen. But this year you saw a couple starting pitchers, some position players going, a few bats going from one team to another, but 1 reliever, George Sherrill to the Dodgers.
Up the middle, base hit. He hit the changeup. Manny over to second, and the second hit for Loney. Yet another base runner for the Dodgers, but no hits once a runner has gotten as far as second base for them, and Matt Kemp will try and deliver now.
But I think Matt Kemp is probably their best pure hitter, so we'll see how he adjusts here in this at bat with a runner in scoring position. He singled his last time up.
He ripped one down the left field line his last time. He struck out his first time. So a parade of base runners for the Dodgers, and always with less than 2 outs until this inning. This one did not get started until there were 2 outs, but they had a 1-out single in the first, a 1-out single in the second, a leadoff single in the third, 2 singles to lead off the fourth, including one by Kemp. Now Ramirez and Loney hit 2-out singles here in the fifth. 2 men on, 2 men out.
Kemp is an interesting hitter, Johnny. He's a pretty big guy. He uses a 34-inch, 31-ounce bat. He says everything else feels heavy in his hands, which is just unusual for a guy that's as large as he is.
Changeup.
And that's what I mentioned to him. I said, well, it bothers you on the changeup, doesn't it? And he said, well, I just have to adjust.
Now, you think your old friend, your fellow Hall of Famer, Willie Mays, if he were giving Matt Kemp some advice, he might tell him to
use a bigger bat.
Yeah.
Mays used to say, well, I use a big bat because I have to leave something behind when I bail.
Jackson to center field. Deep. McLouth way back there. And goodbye to the deepest part of the ballpark. Matt Kemp on an 0-2 pitch launches one. 3-0 Dodgers.
Well, that's why he uses the 31-ounce bat, John, because he could get to that high fastball. That was a high fastball after the changeup, and he caught up with it and hit it straight away center field. It's a great job of hitting there because he was fooled completely on the changeup, but now there he is. He asked for the high fastball. He didn't get it as high as he wanted, but he asked for the, you see the catcher McCann asking for the high fastball, but it wasn't high enough.
Well, it got high afterward.
Yeah.
And that's quite a shot at Turner Field. Way over that 400-foot marker in center field. So Matt Kemp, with his 14th homer of the year, gives him 62 RBIs.
Right out there. That X marks the spot on that one.
Well, that's why I say he's their best hitter, so we'd see what would happen in that matchup there. But Jurgens missed his spot, and Kemp made him play.
You're right. Brian McCann stood up behind the plate. That's where you want that higher than high fastball, that high fastball. He threw it at the top of the strike zone. One of the rare mistakes Jurgens has made with the fastball in this game.
The slider fouled by Russell Martin, who has singled and flied out to left center. Friday, in game 1 of this series, the rookie Braves right-hander Tommy Hanson had a shutout going against the Dodgers into the 5th inning, and then Andre Ethier hit a 3-run shot to break that scoreless tie. And now 2 nights later, Matt Kemp does the same thing in the 6th inning against Jurgens. And the 3-run homers, that's when they really count, when they really hurt.
Well, Joe Torre really likes this team because of that. One night it might be Kemp, another night it might be Loney, another time it might be Ethier, and we know Manny's going to be in the mix. And he said that's why he likes this team. He doesn't have to count on one guy every night. They have a combination of guys that can get the job done, and they're all young. I mean, that's why they're so good. I mean, they're going to get better.
After the trade deadline, a lot of people talking about who's the best team now in the National League. And we see the 3-run home run for the Dodgers there, but the Dodgers don't score many runs from the home run. That's why I think the Phillies, the best offense in the National League, the best defense in the National League. And now with Cliff Lee, I think a deeper rotation.
That ball is hit down the left field line. That's going to be extra bases for Russell Martin as he clobbered one. Anderson gets it back in, and that's 4 consecutive 2-out hits for the Dodgers here in the 5th inning.
You see Roger McDonald going out there to talk to Jurgens, and remember we talked about the last half inning where he didn't have any damage. Everything was up in the zone, and once again here he tried to go up the zone to Matt Kemp, couldn't get it there, but that's just missing his spot, not driving that ball down to the outer part of the plate. And when he's left it over the heart of the plate, the Dodgers hitters have gotten the good part of the bat to the ball and been able to drive it into left field. We talked about that pitch on the Matt Kemp home run where Brian McCann was behind the plate. He was signaling he wanted that high fastball. Whenever the catcher stands up behind the hitter, he's saying, give me that high one, throw that high fastball. But this, he wants up high, up at the elbow of Matt Kemp, up in the zone and away. And you see the ball down in the zone. He didn't get it there. And Brian McCann knew it when it came off the bat. Bobby Cox said, you know what, we want it up. We wanted it up. Not in the zone.
And a called strike at the knees to Loretta, the 7th batter of the inning. 3 runs are in for the Dodgers. This is the 5th inning. I think a little while ago I said the 6th inning. Just like Friday night, the 3-run homer came in the 5th inning. Tonight from Kemp, Friday from Ethier. That change up through the middle. That will get another run home. Here comes Martin. It's a 4-run inning for the Dodgers. Another 2-out RBI hit, this one by Mark Loretta.
Well, he's been hurt by the changeup as much as he has missing his spots. Because the changeup, you're not going to be able to throw it perfectly knee-high and away every time. The changeup is a pitch you throw to get the hitter's balance off balance. And there's a changeup. Sure, it's up, but that's a lot of changeups are going to be up because you cannot just bury them down and away. But there is a changeup, base hit to center field. There were 3 changeups hit in this inning for base hits.
Now Orlando Hudson, who has singled and walked in this game. The count is 0-1. The Atlanta bullpen has gone to work now, out beyond the right center field wall. That is Boone Logan, the left-hander, starting to get hot. Jurgens throws his 100th pitch of the night. And we're only in the 5th inning.
This reminds me of the game I saw Billingsley pitch the other game against the Cardinals. He pitched 5 innings, no runs, and only 1 hit, and all of a sudden the Cardinals got 6 runs that inning off of him the next couple innings. So here's what is happening. The same thing is happening here to Jurgens.
Runner at first, 2 down. Almost a wild pitch. McCann made a very nice save on that one.
Now seeing some emotion from Jurgens, where we saw him so calm earlier, so under control, but now a little bit of emotion.
Jurgens, before tonight, had pitched 134 innings and only allowed 113 hits, which is always an indicator of how tough a guy is, how tough he is to hit. He's allowed 10 hits in 4 2/3 tonight. Now 10 hits in 5 full. At long last, the 5th inning has ended, and maybe his night has ended. 4 runs for the Dodgers, 3 on the big fly by Matt Kemp. That old song from, what, 48 years ago?
Can't remember that far back, John.
You know, I started noticing that about you lately, Joe.
Can't.
I wasn't bored yet, guys.
And don't want to.
Here's Adam LaRoche against Chad Billingsley. And now the Braves are down by 4. Billingsley looking to keep it that way as he delivers ball 1. He has had 6 strikeouts in the first 4 innings of this game. And he's also trying to turn his season back in the right direction.
Well, again, I thought he did that last week in St. Louis, but, you know, he pitched 5 innings.
This week, Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday, pitched great in St. Louis. But here's the other point, John. We were talking about, I said he was having trouble getting ahead, putting guys away. Well, he had 9 2-strike counts on hitters, and he got each one of those batters out. I think that's a sign of what they expect from him and what they want from him. But see, now he's got a 5-run lead, and 4-run lead, and all of a sudden now he's ball 2, 3-0. This is the key inning. I mean, when your team scores, you got to go right back out there and shut them down. And not only that, you have some margin for error. Now you can throw your fastball in the middle of the plate if you have to, just to make sure you do not put runners on base.
You certainly don't want to walk anybody and let them get back into the game. Make them earn it.
Well, he's facing a hitter who struck out against him in the second inning, but in 5 career at-bats, Adam LaRoche has hit 2 home runs against Chad Billingsley. 3-0 the count. And he pours one in there for a strike. You saw Boone Logan and now Chris Medlin, the right-handed, to join the lefty Logan up in the Atlanta bullpen. That's Medlin. He's the one doing the throwing right now. Logan had been up earlier. On the outside corner, strike 2. That's Jurgens in the middle of that picture.
But it's interesting, John. Jurgens over 100 pitches in 5 innings. And 4 of those innings were shutout innings.
And swinging and missing at ball 4. Adam LaRoche is the 7th strikeout victim for Chad Billingsley. With rain washing out today's race, points leader Tony Stewart hopes to go for the Pocono sweep tomorrow, while Kyle Busch, who is currently on the outside of the chase standings, looking in, must put together a strong run to qualify for NASCAR's playoffs. The chase for the Sprint Cup, the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Pocono, presented by Old Spice. Coverage begins at noon Eastern tomorrow on ESPN. Here's Matt Diaz. 1 out, nobody on in the 5th inning. Billingsley 7 strikeouts, no walks. He's only allowed 2 hits. And there is ball 1. By the way, you might say, well, his name is not Diaz, it's Diaz. And I asked Diaz a couple of years ago why he pronounces it that way. He says when his grandfather came to this country, he was working in a mine, and the first payday, his name was called out over the microphone system, the speaker system, and they pronounced it Diaz. And he went over there to find out what was going on, and they handed him a paycheck. And so he got home and told the family, our new American name is Diaz.
That's when they call it, you get a paycheck.
That's right.
What a wonderful country.
So their family has gone with that pronunciation ever since. Matt Diaz is how he says it. And I'm John Miller. Joe Morgan.
Feel free to call me Diaz if you want. If you're going to hand me a check, I'll take it.
Steve Phillips, I believe.
No check for me.
2-2 the count to Diaz. And the Braves are up against it now. And they have been struggling lately. They had a big series against the Marlins, who have started to kick it in gear now. And now the Dodger trainer, Stan Conti, is going to go out and see if Billingsley's okay. Rick Honeycutt, the pitching coach, is also on his way out there. There's Honeycutt.
Well, as a general manager, you're seeing this, knowing that this young guy is one of the leaders of your staff. It looks like he's kind of shaking his leg talking about that, but it scares you to death because you know how important he is to your season. You also know that the trading deadline just went by. It would be much more difficult to add to your starting pitching at this stage. And so your depth is your depth for the most part at this point in the year.
looks like he's going to throw a practice pitch here to see if he's okay. This is the last pitch he threw in earnest.
Might have hyperextended that lead leg as he's going forward, as he follows through on it. Does he hyperextend that leg, pop it back right there? It looks like that's what he does. He kind of pops that knee back and now tries, felt a little something there. Ouch.
Well, apparently he's okay. He's going to stay in there to face Matt Diaz with a 2-ball, 2-strike count. Oh, man. That was wicked. 8 strikeouts.
Well, he was going to try to stay John if he can, because he needs another out for this to be his win if the Dodgers are able to hold on.
Interesting, he's gone fastball and curveball most of the night. He threw a slider right there to get Diaz to chase off the plate. So, one thing you have to be concerned of, though, guys, is whenever you have any issue with your leg, if you start to change your mechanics with your delivery, you do expose the arm to potential injury.
And that's a ball inside to Diori Hernandez. And that's the pitching coach, Rick Honeycutt, himself a longtime Major League pitcher, left-hander. 2 down, nobody on. The pitcher's spot due up next for the Braves, and Jurgens has not gone out. Instead, Greg Norton, pinch hitting specialist, is out on deck. Diori Hernandez struck out his first time. 8 strikeouts, no walks from Chad Billingsley. 3-0 the count. You got to go 5 innings if you're the starting pitcher to qualify for a win. And whether you hyperextend a knee or anything else, if you don't finish 5, you can't do it. There with one exception. If the game only goes 5 innings, rain shortened, you could go 4 and get credit for the win. 3-1 the count. And that is the first walk allowed by Billingsley, and it will bring up Greg Norton. I guess the most famous or infamous instance of a guy changing his delivery because of an injury to a leg. The one we used to hear about when we were kids. The cautionary tale of Dizzy Dean, a 30-game winner for the Cardinals in '34, and he got a hit with a line drive in the All-Star game on the leg. And he tried to, the ball hit by Earl Averill of Cleveland, and he tried to pitch through it. As you see, the Dodger bullpen is getting busy now. Elbert, a left-hander, is going to start to throw, or is throwing now. Scott Elbert. Here is Norton, the pinch hitter, a called strike at the outside. Norton drove in the winning run here yesterday with a pinch hit single in the 6th inning. But Dizzy Dean insisted he was okay, tried to pitch through the injury, and hurt his arm, and was never the same pitcher again.
Well, I'll give you a more recent example. Dodger fans will certainly know this, but Eric Gagne. When Eric Gagne was in spring training a number of years back after his fantastic years, he injured his knee, and for some reason they had him pitching in spring training games. And I actually remember calling the spring training games saying he has no business being out there. And the next time out with a sore knee, pitched, hurt his arm, and he was never the same again after that.
1-2 to Norton.
Take a look at that front leg as it hits the ground, and it's about how he follows through and how that leg kind of hyperextends and pushes up. Doesn't look like he's favoring it too much, but it's all small little adjustments that can get made that can lead to an injury.
And that one gets away from Martin, and Hernandez advances to second.
Well, this is a situation where, as a pitching coach and as a manager, you have to trust your pitcher that he's going to tell you the truth. The problem is you got a young guy who wants to get a win. He can taste it, he can smell it, he can see it, he can touch it right now. But this win means nothing in the scheme of what this season means to Dodger baseball. This is about October this year. This isn't about August. This isn't about a game against the Atlanta Braves in early August for a young guy on the mound. And sometimes you have to guard young guys against themselves. So it'll be interesting to see how long of a leash, if he continues to stay in trouble, Joe Torre gives him.
Well, this will be his 21st pitch of the inning and his final pitch of the inning, and he's got 9 strikeouts, 3 of them here in the 5th inning. On to the 6th. Billingsley due to lead it off as the Braves will go to their bullpen. Dodgers lead it 4-0.
Brought to you by One-A-Day Men's 50-Plus Advantage. Get more of what matters to you.
Turner Field, Atlanta. Rubber match of the 3-game series, and the Dodgers lead the Braves 4-0. A new pitcher has come on for the Braves, Chris Medlin, in relief of Jair Jurgens. And Medlin, 23 years old, from Southern California, out of Santa Ana Junior College in the LA area, 4.91 ERA, but 40 and the 3rd innings pitched, 41 strikeouts, so that will catch your eye. And Joe Torre is out chatting with plate umpire Scott Barry. No hitter has come out yet. And Jason Schmidt, who pitched the game here on Friday, has a helmet on and has a bat. There was a lot of negotiating that seemed to be going on in the dugout between innings involving Joe Torre, Stan Conti, the trainer, pitching coach Rick Honeycutt, and Chad Billingsley.
Well, you see Billingsley on his stride earlier when he throws the pitch. Watch on the front leg and how he kind of locks up that front knee, hyperextends that knee. And they said, you know what, after he got out of the inning, let's talk about this, figure out what we're going to do with this thing. And young competitive pitcher trying to talk himself to stay into the game, saying, come on, Skip, let me in there. And Joe Torre, I think, making the wise decision, years of experience, understanding this kid's too important to us. Talking to Stan Conti, the trainer, saying, get in there, fix this guy up, get him right for the next time around.
He had the helmet on, he had the bat in hand, he was ready to go, but could not talk his way into it. And so, here in the 6th inning, the Dodgers are going with a short bench because they have 13 pitchers. They've used the bullpen so much, they've had problems with the starting pitchers going deep into games. They haven't done it very often, and so they've got an extra bullpenner and only 4 men on the bench. And so with a 4-run lead, he's not going to use up one of those precious 4 extra players here.
Well, I think the other issue is Casey Blake with the strained wrist, probably not available to Joe Torre in this game, so it shortens the bench even more. Figure use Jason Schmidt early and save the chips I have to play for later in the game if necessary.
Meanwhile, Bobby Cox was out talking with the first base umpire and said, hey, are we going to play the game or what? Make him put a guy up there. What are you doing? So here is Schmidt, who has 7 career home runs. Every once in a while, he hits one at the center of percussion, and it goes. He's a big guy. And for many years a power pitcher. He started out with the Atlanta Braves. Went to the Pirates, but really blossomed when he was acquired by the San Francisco Giants in a trade several years ago. Became one of the top pitchers in the National League. But he's had arm problems. And he hits that one right back past Metlin. He's got a base hit. Is this the Dodgers' year or what? Joe Torre, I knew that was going to happen.
You know, I'm not so sure Joe is happy that he gets a base hit anyway, because you got a pitcher running the bases now, and it's dangerous for pitchers, especially someone like Schmidt, who hasn't been playing for a long time, hasn't been running the bases, he hasn't been playing, been on the disabled list.
Well, Billingsley's back out there now. He's enjoying seeing his teammate, his fellow pitcher, get a base hit. Here is Forcal, who is 0 for 3, bluffs the bunt, takes 2 high, the ball 1. So you think Torre, hey, he may have been just now saying, hey, I didn't think he'd actually get a hit, have to run the bases. I thought maybe he did a home run and just trot around. I didn't think he'd have to go out there and run.
Well, he hasn't been running the bases for almost a year and a half now.
He literally went 2 years without throwing a pitch in a big league game. His arm troubles as Forcal is now 0 for 4. Are you surprised Schmidt didn't tag up, try to go to second?
No, I wasn't surprised.
Well, I'm surprised he didn't at least go halfway. I mean, he kind of stayed right at the base, acting like he hasn't run the bases.
He went about 1/30th of the way.
He did. But what a tremendous story for the Dodgers. I mean, he's worked his way back on the big contract, free agent signing, has not given them any production at all, worked his way back, and he's short 10 miles per hour right now from what his fastball used to be.
His fastball right now is slower than his changeup used to be. He used to have that power changeup that used to come in 88, 89 miles an hour oftentimes. This is Ethier, who has singled, walked, and struck out. Schmidt over at first. He pitched here on Friday, went 6 shutout innings, and seemed to be rather astonished by that himself. Schmidt, his longest start in more than 2 years was Friday. His 3rd start of the season. His ERA had been 7.88. It went dropped down to 4.5. And none of those pitches was Schmidt-like. He used to throw 98 miles an hour regularly.
I think there were thoughts that if he did not pitch well in that game, he was a likely release candidate. But he gave them a good outing, got his 2nd win, and they're looking at right now, we'll take whatever we can get. Get through to the month of September. Remember, rosters expand at that point. You can bring up some depth and some minor leaguers to protect you and piggyback on the back end of a Jason Schmidt start.
Andre Ethier has his 2nd hit of the game, and Schmidt will go to second. As Manny Ramirez gets ready to bat. Here comes Manny with 2 men on, and an RBI spot for Manny, who has not had an RBI since July the 23rd.
22nd.
Or the 22nd, I beg your pardon. Longer than I recall.
Yeah, he got hit. He got hit on the 21st, and then he pinch hit on the 22nd.
He does have a hit tonight. His 2-out single in the 5th inning started the 4-run inning that has the Dodgers leading. 4-0 LA. That's a soaring fly ball to left.
And he just missed it.
Garrett Anderson. 2 down.
Well, he was looking for that off-speed pitch, and he got it, and he just got underneath it. I mean, watch, everything is there. He just hits the bottom half of the ball. This is the pitch. Now watch his body, watch everything. Everything is there at the right time. He just misses it. Ball's on the inner half of the plate, and he's right there, and he just underneath it.
So Medlin got away with one.
Well, yes.
Made a mistake.
Well, I think Manny was just looking for it. He got it, and he just missed it.
But if you're going to be in there, you want the ball maybe to be a few inches off the inside instead of a few inches out over the plate. Well,
it just goes to point out, John, that every time the pitcher misses, they don't hit it out of the ballpark.
That's the first time that I've ever seen Manny not hit one out.
There's times when I think, because I choose to give the hitter credit, even when a guy makes a mistake, because you still have to hit it. Hitting a baseball is still a very, very difficult thing to do. I don't care if they sit it right there every time for you, right in the middle of the plate. It's not easy to hit out of the ballpark.
That one is smashed down the right field line by Loney. And Jason Schmidt, who got the pinch hit single, is going to score a run on the Loney double. Ethier stopping at third.
Well, you know, there's an old saying, you throw fastballs, you know, to the older guys and off-speed pitches to the younger guys. Well, they're hitting all off-speed pitches. I mean, that's the Atlanta Braves have been hurt more tonight on off-speed pitches than anything else, other than the home run by Matt Kemp. But the ones that set up the home run were all off-speed pitches. And here we go again. Another off-speed pitch, and he just pulls it right down into the corner. These young guys are good hitters. I mean, when you watch these guys play, you can see that they are going to be something special in the course of the next couple of years.
And look at Schmidt go. Schmidt is just carrying this team now.
That's laboring right there, I think, is what defined that.
That's a foul ball that knocked the mask right off the face of Brian McCann. Jason Schmidt. By the way, this was not the first time Schmidt has ever pinch hit in his career. The last time, 14 years ago when he was with the Braves. Bobby Cox put him up to pinch hit his first season with the Braves, and he got a walk. So he has never failed. He has never failed as a pinch hitter. He's always gotten on base.
Billingsley is sitting there. I mean, he's trying to tell him nothing's wrong with him, because, I mean, he didn't go upstairs to get stretched or get ice or anything else. So he's trying to say there's nothing wrong with me. He's sitting there with nothing on. No ice packs or anything.
There's no re-entry rule, so once you get hit for, you're not going back into the game here. But hanging out to support his teammates. Randy Wolf coming down to talk to Jason Schmidt.
Now, Randy Wolf is a guy who really is a good hitter as a pitcher. And that is strike three. Matt Kemp, who had the big hit, the 3-run shot in the 5th inning. Down on strikes here, but another run for the Dodgers against Medley. And they lead 5-0. Billingsley's night has finished.
Jackie's that the Major League Baseball will forever remain baseball's proudest moment. Taking the unprecedented step of retiring his uniform number 42, in perpetuity.
20 years of covering Major League Baseball on ESPN. And we well remember that night at Shea Stadium, 1997, the 50th anniversary of Jackie Robinson's first game of the big leagues, as he broke the color line in baseball, became the first African-American player allowed to play in the big leagues. And they had the ceremonies. The Dodgers played the Mets at Shea Stadium. Among those who were in attendance, in addition to the commissioner of baseball, Bud Selig, was then President Bill Clinton. And Bud Selig, I think, surprised everyone with his announcement that the number 42, Jackie Robinson's number, would be retired in perpetuity by all major league clubs. Here is Scott Elbert in the pitch now for the Dodgers. Elbert, who is going to turn 24 in 11 days, and at one time was a great Dodger prospect. He was a first-round draft choice, but he has had lots of arm troubles, lots of miseries with the arm. Now he's a relief pitcher during the big leagues, and he retires. Nate McLouth, Manny Ramirez making the catch in the left field corner.
Well, we talked at the beginning about Billings being a power pitcher. You'll get a great example of this by watching. This is the fastball away, the four-seam fastball. Here's the sinking fastball. Look at the action moving away. He's got a cutter. I mean, that's just a great pitch right there. He's got a hard curveball, which is his power curve, and they want him to change up on his curveball, and there you see it perfectly right there. He changed up on it, took 10 miles an hour off. That was just almost a perfect pitch. That's exactly what Rick Honeycutt and the Dodgers want him to do. Change speeds on that curveball. You did not see many changeups. He doesn't throw very many changeups, but that slow curveball will act as a changeup.
And hopefully he's okay. He finished the inning in which he seemed to get hurt.
But he was sitting on the bench. That tells me that he was okay. I mean, if something's wrong with you, the trainer's going to go up right away and start working on you.
Nate McLouth having made the first out of the inning. Martin Prado has a count of 2-0 facing Elbert here. There's Chipper Jones on deck. Now, this Dodger bullpen got a reinforcement at the trading deadline. Ned Coletti, the general manager, making a huge acquisition, getting the closer for the Baltimore Orioles, George Sherrill. And he already earned his keep. His debut with the Dodgers was a tight spot in which he inherited a couple of base runners and struck out the side.
You know what I like about him, John, is he will throw the breaking ball to left-handed hitters. A lot of guys do not throw enough breaking balls to left-handed hitters. But that's he's got a great breaking ball and good fastball. And I think Joe Torre told me the great thing about him is so far is he doesn't need a niche. He didn't come here saying, I want to be a closer, I want to be the setup man. Joe says he may be able to use him 2 innings at a time. He said all he wants to do is win, and he'll do whatever Joe Torre wants. And I mean, you don't get that very often anymore, and Joe Torre was really pleased with that.
What I love about that acquisition, I used to love getting former closers in my bullpen, throughout the bullpen, because we always talk about the save as the 9th inning, but sometimes you save the game in the 7th inning. Sometimes you save it in the 8th inning. And having a guy with that mentality to get that big out makes a big difference.
Prado into left center. Manny Ramirez.
This is Manny's inning.
Manny has caught 2 fly balls, 2 men gone.
Well, Joe, you talked about Chad Billingsley with that 0-2 with 2 strike count, how he's putting hitters away. But really, he got to that point and made pitches, because look at the command. Watch how he throws to the glove. The outstanding curveball right there. Then you see that set up away. He throws the fastball right to his spot. Again, Russell Martin glove down. He wants that breaking ball down in the zone. He throws it right to the glove. And again, the glove in, fastball in, hitting his spots. Command and control and outstanding stuff.
5 shutout innings with 9 strikeouts. Chipper Jones, who struck out twice against Billingsley, and just out as Hudson seemed to slip as he threw that ball. Still got him. On to the 7th inning now. The Dodgers lead the Braves 5-0. smooth as you'll ever see at second base, but he wasn't that smooth getting the final out of the Atlanta sixth inning as Medlin throws a strike call to Russell Martin.
Well, I mean, he just gets his spikes caught. He catches it, he trips, and then he just kind of starts to fall off balance, but he caught his spikes out there in the dirt someplace. Probably on that little pebble I threw out there earlier. When I was out on,
did you ever do that, Joe?
When I was out on the infield.
Did you ever catch his spikes like that?
No, I don't know. I'm sure I did.
But it looked like Loney might have thrown him off. Loney was kind of far afield, and he had to wait a little extra time for Loney to get back to first.
I think Orlando Hudson knew we were talking about him.
Off the glove of LaRoche, covering is Medlin, and Prado gets him.
Well, a great job by Medlin to get over there, because a lot of times when they hit a line drive to the first baseman, you see the pitcher stop, but he did not stop. He continued to run, and a good play by Prado at second base, backing him up. He kind of short arms this ball. He didn't really have to dive. He was just getting down. Nice play there by Prado, and you can see Medlin got over there in plenty of time to give him a good target.
So Martin had some little catcher's legs thing going on there too. Here is Loretta, and it is 0-1.
John, you were talking about, I went to the Hall of Fame last week. I got to go downstairs and see the bats. I saw one of Babe Ruth's bats. There's down there
in the archive.
Downstairs in the archives, they don't have it on display. And the interesting thing to me, John, I don't know if people realize this. There's a brand right there. He used to mark his ball. He'd notch the home runs that he hit with each bat. So he'd have a bat before he broke it. This bat had like 15 home runs before he broke it. Another one had like 18 on it before he broke it. So he kept track of which bat was good to him. Oh, yeah. I mean, it was broken bats, but they were all notched.
Wow.
Right there at the label, right where, his particular bats were Hildreth and Brasby. And each one had right around the outside had a notch for every home run he hit.
Now, that was down in the archive. The stuff that
you can't
see on display.
Yeah.
So you got a little
that's
special dispensation down there.
I went because you told me about it. I've been going there for a lot of years. I didn't even realize it was there.
Oh, they took me down there years ago.
Yeah, I know. You told me that.
Well, I'm glad you finally went down there. And Loretta flies out to McLeod, 2 down. And here's an update from the studio with Steve Berthiaume. So the Texas Rangers having a very fine season under their manager Ron Washington, and Saltalamacchia, a former hot prospect with the Atlanta Braves.
Well, he wouldn't have. I mean, just look at it this way: the Angels are playing so well now. That's the reason that Texas can't get into first place or make up a lot of ground, because the Angels are playing so well. But I'll tell you what, Texas is having a fabulous season, and they're a much different type ball club. They're fun to watch.
The main problems they're having at times this year is with their offense. Pitching's been excellent. Their defense vastly improved. And that was turned in by Deory Hernandez to retire. Orlando Hudson. It's a 3-up, 3-down inning for Medlin. Presented by Taco Bell. Turner Field, Atlanta, 7th-inning stretch time. And the hometown team is trailing. It's the Dodgers 5 and the Braves nothing as we go to the last of the 7th. And we've been celebrating our 20th season of Major League Baseball on ESPN by going to the MLB page at ESPN.com and giving you a chance to vote for your 20-year All-Star team. The best players of the 20 years we've been covering baseball. This week was the vote for the catcher. Mike Piazza, Ivan Rodriguez, and Jorge Posada were the 3 nominees. And according to your votes, as we get a look at an outstanding current catcher for the Atlanta Braves, Brian McCann, who is 0 for 2 tonight. McCann has struck out and grounded out to second, hitting .299, facing Scott Elbert here in a check swing foul off the third base side. Now here's the way you voted for the top catcher in the 20 years of ESPN baseball coverage. Piazza, Pudge Rodriguez, Posada, and Ivan Rodriguez with 46% of the vote. Piazza had 35%, Posada 19%. Pudge Rodriguez, 13 Gold Gloves, 14 All-Stars, a World Series ring. And it's 1-2 now to Brian McCann.
I think those 13 Gold Gloves separated him from the other catchers. He was just a fabulous defensive catcher. He's an excellent hitter. Had a lot of great years in Texas.
I demand a recount. Mike Piazza, former Met. I demand a recount.
He was your catcher when you were the GM.
He was. I traded for him, and you started looking at the offensive numbers Mike Piazza put up, and he's the most prolific offensive catcher to ever play the game.
But catching is about defense.
13 Gold Gloves are overrated in my mind.
I think catching, the middle of the diamond is about defense. Your catcher, your shortstop, your second baseman, and your center fielder. That's where the defense comes in. So you should always have a good defensive catcher. I mean, Mike Piazza is a great player, but when you compare him against Ivan Rodriguez, especially defensively, I think that's why the fans voted that way.
And it's easy, because I would rather have Piazza as my catcher. I would. Even though Pudge is the better defensive guy, I would rather have a team with Piazza behind the plate than Pudge.
Yeah.
So that's why you didn't trade for Pudge?
That's why I didn't trade Piazza for Pudge once we got him.
Now, and you did not make that trade for Piazza, the former great Dodger catcher, as McCann is called out on strikes. 10th strikeout by Dodger pitching tonight. But you didn't make that trade with the Dodgers. He had already been traded to the Florida Marlins.
He was a Florida Marlin. In fact, I remember when that trade happened from the Dodgers to the Marlins, I called Dave Dombrowski, the Marlins general manager, and I think they were inclined to hold him for some period of time. And a couple days later, he said, "You know what? We're not going to hold him. We're going to turn him around." That's the deal. I never understood why the Dodgers, when they took all that money from the Florida Marlins, right? Bobby Bonilla, Gary Sheffield. I don't understand why they gave up Piazza. I think taking the money, they could have held Piazza, and then they could have traded Piazza themselves and gotten the prospects in return, rather than letting the Marlins get the prospects.
And that was sort of a turning point in the Dodgers' history at that time. After all of that stability under the O'Malley family, and they had one GM for years and years and years. They had one manager. The Dodgers never changed managers over the years. But all of a sudden, that Piazza trade was made, and the general manager didn't even know about it until after it was done.
That's never good when you're a general manager and a trade gets done and you don't know about it. That's not good. And and it changed the Mets organization. I mean, it took the Mets from being a good little team to being a legitimate contender, and also gave credibility. And what it did, it made New York, particularly the Mets, a cool place to go. Piazza made it cool, and it took the Mets off of players' no-trade list. Everybody had the New York team, particularly the Mets, on their no-trade list. Nobody wanted to go there. But once Piazza was there, it kind of made it a cool place to go and really changed the direction of the Mets organization.
The Dodgers, meanwhile, have new ownership now. The ownership that traded away Piazza is no longer the owner of the Dodgers. The McCourt family, the primary owners of the Dodgers, as Garrett Anderson grounds out. And things are going pretty well for them now under general manager Ned Colletti, manager Joe Torre. Farm system has borne fruit, and they have that combination of that we talked about when we watched the White Sox last week, of some veteran players in particular a guy named Manny Ramirez, and some outstanding young talent. 2 down, nobody on. Adam LaRoche, the hitter. He has struck out twice in this game, facing Albert, and a fastball in there for a strike.
The Dodgers made some attempts to add to their starting rotation. They called about Roy Halladay, and they really made a push for Cliff Lee, but they just could not put a package together that wouldn't impact their major league team in a way that justified the deal. So they did the next best thing, which was add to the bullpen. And right now, I think you can look at the Dodgers, and they're going to get healthier with Ronald Belisario coming back and Corey Wade coming back at some point. I mean, they have as much depth as anybody right now in their bullpen.
There's Rick Honeycutt on the right, Joe Torre in the foreground. LaRoche out to Manny, and medium deep left, and the inning is over. Albert retires 6 in a row. Atlanta has not had a hit since the 3rd inning. On to the 8th.
Think outside the bun. And in part by Dos Equis. Stay thirsty, my friends. Please enjoy Dos Equis responsibly.
Turner Field, Atlanta. I'm John Miller, along with Hall of Famer Joe Morgan and Steve Phillips, and the Los Angeles Dodgers atop the National League West rather comfortably, and they have a fairly comfortable lead now as we head to the 8th inning as Boone Logan takes over from the Atlanta bullpen. He is the 3rd Atlanta pitcher of the night. The Braves starter, who has been one of their best pitchers for the last 2 seasons, Jair Jurgens, got touched up for a 4-run 5th inning in this game, including Matt Kemp's 3-run homer that broke a 0-0 tie. And for the Dodgers, Scott Elbert is going to stay in there, back for himself. Why not? The last pitcher who batted was, as a pinch hitter, Jason Schmidt, hit a single and scored a run back in the 6th inning. Albert has pitched 2 perfect innings. There's Schmidt, who has not been a familiar sight in that Dodger dugout for a couple of years. Now, the Dodgers have to like their odds anytime they're late in the game, even more now than before, having made that acquisition of George Sherrill, closer for Baltimore in the American League, to go with their monster closer, Jonathan Broxton, who is so tough to hit. So they got 2 closers at the end of games now in a tight ball game. And they got Sherrill in a deal just before the trading deadline on Friday. That's Broxton on the left in the foreground there. And that is strike 3 call. One away. Here's an update now from the studio with Steve Berthiaume of Sports Center right now. Here is Rafael Furcal. Thanks, Stephen. And the Angels. Torrey Hunter down, Vlad down. But I looked at the box score this morning after the game yesterday. They have 7 guys hitting either over 300 or right under 300. The first 7 guys in the batting order. It's first guy's hitting 313, the next guy's 302, then 311. They all have speed, it seems like. And they're making things happen. They are hitting like their team batting average is up well over 280.
Well, that's why the Texas Rangers can't make up any ground. I mean, the Angels are playing great. And like you said, as soon as they get Torrey Hunter back and Vlad, they'll be even that much better.
Base hit to left for Kyle.
But I think the real key is Morales. He has really been hot, and he picked up the slack.
So he is picking up that power slack. What's that, 23, 24 home runs?
Right, 23 home runs.
For him. Now, they were one of the teams that did not make a big move at the trading deadline.
And I was a little bit surprised. I mean, but I will say this. The Angels, they do it somewhat unconventionally. They don't tend to be aggressive in the free agent market. They're not aggressive necessarily in the trade market. They tend to covet their young players. They did not want to put a package together for Roy Halladay. They weren't in on the Cliff Lee deal. And they're going to go with the guys they have. And it's paid off for them in the past because they haven't made trades. And they've been able to stay and make the playoffs every year. But once they get there, they haven't been able to find a way to win in the postseason of late.
Well, they've had to play the Red Sox.
Right.
That's one of the reasons they haven't. And they have not fared well against the Red Sox in the postseason.
Andre Ethier, the hitter, is right now the Dodgers' big home run hitter. Tonight he's had 2 singles and a walk in this game. Runner at first, 1 out in the 8th inning. Manny Ramirez on deck, and Manny is going to head to the plate now as Furcal streaking around second into third. Third hit for Ethier, and here comes Manny with another RBI opportunity. He has not driven in a run since that grand slam as a pinch hitter on July the 22nd.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I think Manny's going to get an RBI.
So you think this is it?
Yeah, I think
the drought ends right here.
The drought ends right here.
He's at 42 plate appearances, 38 and 37 at bats, I beg your pardon, without an RBI.
Well, if he puts the ball in play, let's go back to that. Oh, like you say, the plate appearances are just walks. They may walk him. I think Randy's going to put the ball in play. I think Manny wants to get. I think he knows he hasn't had an RBI for a long time as well.
Well, he knows.
Yeah.
Boone Logan's a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, but he doesn't have that kind of command to pound it inside. They're looking to go away here with Manny.
I don't think a left-hander can pitch him in anyway. I don't think left-handers can get inside on Manny nearly as much as as easy as the right-handers can.
A ball and a strike to Manny with Furcal at third, Ethier at first. LaRoche on the bag with him. Big hole open on the right side of the infield, but one of the great RBI men of this time, Manny Ramirez, and a ball down and in.
It's also difficult for a lot of left-handers to pitch right-handed hitters inside. They're so used to trying to run the ball away, it's very difficult for them to hit the inside corner. Not only that, the ball seems to tail back anyway. If you get it on the inside corner and it tails back to the middle, then you're in real trouble with Manny.
Boone Logan, who works off the extreme third base side of the pitching slab. Infield double play death. That might have been the RBI pitch right there, Joe.
Yeah, but now I'm starting to worry because he missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he missed
That's what I'm saying.
Pitch. Yeah, that was the pitch. Pitch is up. He's going to hit it in the air, and he missed it.
Well, remember, he just missed one the last time. He hit a soaring fly ball and knocked the home run on a
that was an off-speed pitch, though.
And it was down in the zone. I think that ball up in the zone, Manny's getting beat. I'm a little surprised, though, Bobby Cox leaving Boone Logan in here. I mean, you know, Manny with one swing in the back can get the Dodgers within striking distance. You're in the 8th inning. You've got a guy who doesn't command that good fastball all the time.
There goes Ethier from first base. And that one almost hit Manny. Ball 3. So
well, now,
an uncontested steal of second by Ethier.
But that leaves first base open now.
They want to get Loney up there, who's been the RBI man.
But he's left-handed.
With rain washing out today's race, points leader Tony Stewart hopes to go for the Pocono sweep tomorrow. Kyle Busch on the outside looking in. And he's going to have to put together a strong run to qualify for NASCAR's playoffs, the chase for the Sprint Cup. Sprint Cup Series at Pocono presented by Old Spice. They're going to walk Manny intentionally here. Coverage of the race tomorrow, noon Eastern on ESPN.
Well, that's one of those situations where I don't understand why Ethier stole second base. Because you know they're going to walk him with a left-handed pitcher out there and a left-handed hitter on deck. I mean, you already have a lead. Manny can put the game out of reach.
Well, let me ask you, if you're going to walk him in that situation, I mean, the base is still open with Ethier on first base.
Well, it's really not open. I don't agree with that philosophy. It's not open because you're putting another man in the scoring position.
But if your fear is that Manny's going to be able to swing to drive the ball out of the ballpark, then you're thinking the man on first base is in scoring position as well. In my mind, if you've got the 5-0 lead, now you've got a chance where a grand slam makes it a one-run game.
Well, here is Loney, who's had 3 hits and an RBI, and the count is 0-1.
He adds a lead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but see, first base is not. I mean, the base is open, but if you get the ground ball, that's a double play. I mean, you can get out of the inning.
Now you have to walk him. You're right. You're right. My mistake.
Yeah.
Now, Joe Torre himself, a couple of times in St. Louis earlier this week, issued an intentional walk with a runner at first base.
Yeah. I mean, there are times you do it, but not 5-0.
Right.
He had a couple.
That hurts.
And hopefully he's okay. He gets up, trying to shake it off. He hit him on the leg.
Well, a lot of times if it hits you on the shin, that's when it really hurts. You know, a lot of times it hits you on the top of the foot, you're okay. But if it fouls off your shin, there's not much, nothing to support it there. Not much meat there, nothing but bone.
Stan Conti, the trainer, out.
Loney's
a guy who seems to like that ball out over the plate a little bit, and that one inside, that really
well, he hits his back knee. I've never seen this. I haven't seen this too often. He hits him on his back knee. Hits him right on the back knee. I don't remember seeing that too often. Wow. I mean, that's very unusual.
I remember Matt Williams, the great third baseman for the Giants and later for Cleveland and Arizona. He once broke his foot hitting a foul ball down off his back foot.
Yeah. Well, I've seen it off your back foot because that means you're late and you're contacted late. But I've rarely seen someone get hit on their back knee.
Well, thankfully, he seems to be okay. Batting with the bases loaded, 1 out here in the 8th inning. James Loney, he has only 7 home runs this year, but he's got a shot at 100 RBIs, 65 RBIs for him already, despite the lack of home runs. Bases loaded, 1 out. 1-2.
I don't blame him coming back inside right there. I mean, that thought of trying to swing at another one of those pitches that you just hit off your back knee.
I remember Loney hitting that grand slam at Wrigley Field in the division series against the Cubs last October. Bases loaded, 1 out. Prado only plays at first. Nicely done by Prado. A run scores for Collin to score. Ethier over the third and Manny to second. And it is 6-0 Dodgers. Second RBI of the night for Loney. When we were talking about the trade the Dodgers made, getting George Sherrill, and there were some trades made just before the deadline. A lot of things started happening in a short period of time.
Well, I think you look at some of the winners. I mean, Jared Washburn going to the Tigers, a big pickup for them. Matt Holliday, don't forget Mark DeRosa, Julio Lugo. Cliff Lee, I think, a great acquisition for the Phillies, and Victor Martinez with his 5 for 6 today for the Boston Red Sox. And I think all of those teams, big-time winners at the deadline. How about the Detroit Tigers right now? 3 of the top 7 ERAs in the American League. Justin Verlander, Edwin Jackson, and now Jared Washburn in that balance of power right-handers with the left-hander as well. Terrific acquisition, and a little bit of a surprise for the Tigers that they stepped up like that. Good move for them.
I think the best move of all was Cliff Lee for me, because the Phillies needed another starter. They got it. I mean, there was so much about Halladay, but I think obviously Ricciardi wanted too much for Halladay, according to the Phillies. Anyway, they decided not to go that way. In fact, no one went that way. So I would have to say that, you know, those may be the winners, but I have to think Toronto's a loser because they did dangle him out there and didn't get anything for him. And then you're going to have him next year where you don't have this half a year that you could use him. So when he goes on the trade market next year, I think his value is less than it would be right now. I think that's where he was great.
A contending team this year had 2 pennant races that he could have helped him.
Yeah, win. Helped him win. I think next year it's only 1. And I think he also made a mistake by putting, you know, some strings attached by saying you can't talk to Halladay because, you know, maybe if they could talk to him, they could get him past next year and decide that they're going to spend that money. They would have been able to keep him.
It was curious, the whole episode, the way Ricciardi came out and he announced it publicly.
Yeah,
we have decided that we're going to trade Roy Halladay if we get bowled over. And I never understood that either. What was the actual point of that?
You mean, why did he announce it instead of just?
Why don't you just call a couple of teams?
One thing about it, it's hard for me to look at a team as a loser when you end up with the best pitcher in the game still on your team. I mean, I understand that the deal didn't play out the way I think J.P. Ricciardi, their general manager, would have wanted. But you still end up with the best pitcher of the game, and you can take a lesser deal than what you expected at any point. That deal can be there in the offseason. That deal can be there during the year, spring training, or at the deadline next year. And
maybe.
I think you can get a lesser deal. It may not be what you wanted, but I think he looked at it and said, look, we're not getting what we thought we should get. We're not getting what even the Indians got last year for CC Sabathia. And as you said, you've got Halladay for this year and for next year, where Sabathia was a rental player.
Matt Kemp, who has 3 RBIs already, adds 2 more. Ethier scores, and here comes Manny. It's a 2-run single for Matt Kemp, a 5 RBI night for him. And the Dodgers now have an 8-0 lead.
Well, I think when you put your star player out there like that and cause him the stress that he went through when he's talking about, you know, if everybody's asking him every place he pitches, every time he goes to the ballpark, asking him where is he going to go and where he would say that he would go. I mean, I think that's unfair to him. I don't think that was fair to him. So I disagree. I think that they should have done it quietly if they were going to do it, rather than putting him out there like that and exposing him to the questions every single day he goes to the ballpark about where are you going to pitch next year. Is this your last start for the Toronto Blue Jays? Every one he made, asking him if that's his last start. I think when you have a star pitcher, a great player, whether it's a pitcher or whatever, I think you have to treat him with more respect. That's the way I look at it.
It was very public. I'll give you that.
Yeah,
it would not have been the way I would have done it either.
It's too public.
So here is Russell Martin. He's had 2 hits. 5 RBIs for Kemp, by the way, equals his career record. It's the 4th time that he has had a 5 RBI game. And Kemp this year now is 64 runs batted in. So here is Martin, 2 for 4 in the game with Kemp at first. 8-0. The Dodgers are leading. And that pop-up, Chipper Jones. A 3-run inning for the Dodgers. And they are way ahead now. The Braves come up last of the 8th inning. Dodgers with an 8-0 lead. last of the 8th inning upcoming. This summer, please join Major League Baseball and the people all-stars among us in your community by signing up to volunteer at MLBGoBeyond.com. MLBGoBeyond.com. Scott Elbert into his 3rd inning of work. He's had 2 perfect innings, and he throws a strike to Matt Diaz on the inside. Diaz is lined out to short and struck out. Now, Steve, you had a list of teams at the trading deadline you called winners. Now, that means that there are some other teams that you're not calling winners at the trade deadline. As Diaz dunks one in, that's the Braves' first hit since the 3rd inning.
Well, I'll say this. I'll say that, we classified some as winners, but there are some other teams that did improve themselves. I think the Dodgers with the George Sherrill deal, Freddie Sanchez going to the San Francisco Giants. The Rockies improved their bullpen, Joe Bimel, Rafael Betancourt. I like what the Cubs did. They ended up affecting their bullpen with John Gravo and then also getting Tom Gorzolani for depth in the rotation. Nick Johnson picked up for the Washington Nationals, going to the Marlins to help them offensively. He had a big start to his Marlins career. And the Braves, you have to go back to the Nate McLeod deal. Ryan Church as well, Adam LaRoche. I mean, they've added to their club. They've gotten some things done there. And there's some Braves fans saying, well, wait, Francoeur's not with us anymore, and Smoltz really isn't with us anymore either. So the trade deadline got them a little bit confused, it seemed.
That ball is ripped into the glove of Manny Ramirez. Nice play, Manny.
Now, Manny can play some defense on occasion. I mean, he's made some good plays, throughout his career.
Tips his cap.
Yeah. I mean, this ball is sinking quickly, goes over, gets the good angle on it, and he makes the catch without diving. He ends up tumbling, but he caught the ball while standing up, which I like. A lot of times when you slide, you lose your perspective on the ball. When you go back, I like what the Cubs did, and I like what the Giants did, and I like what the Dodgers did. I really do. I mean, the Cubs didn't have but one left-hander, Marshall, in their bullpen. Right. Now they got Grave. I mean, they have brought in some guys that they could use and help them. And I think the Giants needed some bats. They brought in a couple of Garco and, of course, Sanchez. I'm really a big Sanchez fan.
Sanchez played his first game for the Giants today.
And I'm a big fan of his. And I think he can really help the Giants. So, and of course, the Dodgers with Sherrill, I think, makes a big difference in their bullpen because, some people say they've been overused, and Belisaurio's on the disabled list. He's coming back. Sherrill can take a lot of the load off of that bullpen, whether it be late or say the 7th inning on. He can take a big load off of there.
Freddie Sanchez, by the way, had 2 hits in his Giants debut, including a 2-run double against Cole Hamels. 2 for 4, 2 batted in.
See, a lot of times, I mean, in my opinion, a lot of times, as the old saying goes, some of the best trades you make are the ones that you don't make at all. And I think, in looking at the Phillies, they thought they needed another starter. They got that. They didn't go overboard by trying to get everyone else because they also realized that Pedro Martinez is in the minor leagues for them. And he may be able to come up and be another starter for him and help him. Brett Myers may be able to come back and help him in the bullpen. And that's why I was always saying I thought the Phillies needed to make that deal for Halladay less than, some of the other teams did. I thought Halladay could do more for some other teams than he could for the Phillies because the Phillies have proven they could win without him.
David Ross is the pinch hitter and lifts a foul and back out of play. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Well, I'm just putting myself in the shoes of a Phillies fan,
right,
having watched the debut on Friday night in San Francisco of their new acquisition, Cliff Lee,
right,
and he pitched a beauty, shutting down the Giants. He made it look almost ridiculously easy. And I'm saying, I'm a Phillies fan, and I'm saying, wait a minute, we got the guy who won the American League Cy Young award last year, which was not Roy Halladay. Roy Halladay didn't win the award last year. It was Cliff Lee, who's now a Philly. He was 22-3 a year ago.
Well, the one difference between the two, though, is this: that in his career, Cliff Lee is 4-6 combined against the Red Sox and Yankees. Roy Halladay has 13 wins against the Red Sox, and he's 16-5 with a 2.9 ERA against the Yankees. So I'm looking at the fact, if I'm going to World Series, the likely road is through one of those 2 teams. I want a guy who can beat them, and Halladay is that proven guy. But listen, they got Cliff Lee and didn't give up any of their 4 big chips. And I think that is a real win for the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, the one other issue the Phillies have is this. Pedro Martinez was signed to be their 5th starter. They don't have a spot in the rotation right now, and the likelihood is Jay Happ, who was so good for them this year at 1.70, is the likely that guy to go to the bullpen to make a spot for Pedro. And you got a young kid who's been a big part of your rotation, who's been very productive. Now you're going to have to penalize him, sending him to the pen.
3-2 the count to Ross, and he draws a walk.
But as the old saying goes, that's always a great problem to have. You'd rather have too many starting pitchers than to not have enough. I mean, that's the key. That's why I've always felt Boston was very good, because they had so many starting pitchers that they could get through it. They had extra starting pitchers, so to speak. But now that Smoltz is back, he's not pitching like John Smoltz that I expected to see. You know, there's still some question marks there.
Now, Steve, you had some teams that you said were winners at the trading deadline, and other teams that definitely improved themselves. That leaves another category of team.
We're going to be politically correct. We're going to call them missed opportunities for some of these teams. New York Yankees, they end up adding Hairston from the Cincinnati Reds, but I thought they could have used the starting pitcher. The Angels really don't do anything to improve themselves. The Rangers didn't want to give up their blue chip prospects and did seem to have money to add other players. Tampa Bay Rays, you're chasing the Red Sox and Yankees, and undermanned this year. The Rays, I thought, could have done something. And then in the Central, we talked about the Cardinals as winners. The Cubs has improved. Well, the Brewers and Astros on a list where they didn't really, in my mind, impact themselves enough, I think, to keep pace with those two teams, the Cubs and the Cardinals.
But you're saying that they had to go get either Halladay or Lee. I mean, who else was out there? Who else? No one else actually moved, though, right?
Well, Jared Washburn moved, was the guy that moved.
But, I mean, who else of those three? I mean, and they were already spoken for.
Nate McLeod pops out to Hudson. Infield fly rule in effect. 2 down.
Well, I'm always looking at the fact that if you don't improve your starting pitching, then you've got to go get some bullpen help and shorten the game. And I think that's an area. Now, we saw Rafael Betancourt, Joe Beimel go to the Rockies, and I think Sherrill was a big get for the Dodgers. I don't think any question there. You see him warming up in the bullpen. But, John Garland is still out there as well. Washburn was a guy that did end up moving. There's talk about Aaron Harang, Bronson Arroyo from the Reds, who could have been available in deals to possibly help. So, there were some names at least being bandied about.
But are those guys going to help you? I mean, the guys you're talking about, they're not pitching well for their teams right now. Harang's not pitching well. Bronson's not pitching well. Garland, none of these guys are pitching that well right now.
I think they both help the Astros and Brewers rotations.
Pitching change, Joe Torre. Torre's afraid this game's trying to get away from him. He's going to the pen with an 8-0 lead. Martin Prado coming up. As the Dodgers go to their bullpen for Guillermo Mota. MLB.TV, the ultimate baseball experience, featuring 100 out-of-market games per week, live on your computer. For more details, visit MLB.TV, where baseball is always on. Next Sunday, we'll be at the new Yankee Stadium, the Yankees and the Red Sox. Sunday Night Baseball from New York. That's 8 o'clock Eastern Time next Sunday. Here is Mota.
Well, this pitch great.
51 and a third innings, only 38 hits allowed. Martin Prado has had a double to center, fouled out, and flied out. He's 1 for 3. Chipper Jones on deck. Fastball is strike on the outside at 94 miles an hour.
Well, guys, one team we didn't talk about, the Chicago White Sox land Jake Peavy in a deal. But I don't know what list to put him on because he's not likely to pitch this year for them. So they gave up some pieces that Clayton Richard, who we saw pitch a couple weeks ago. But
well, last Sunday.
Yeah.
It's beautifully. That's a base hit to left field. Here comes Diaz around third, and Manny is going to throw in toward third in the general vicinity anyway. The Braves have their first run, and Chipper Jones will come up with a chance to do some damage.
Well, Peavy said that he's going to pitch in August. I mean, he says he's going to be ready because he says his ankle. So if he can pitch in August, you know, according to Kenny Williams, he says, well, he's going to be healthy. I mean, he's not going to have a tired arm going down the stretch. He hasn't pitched this year, so if he can pitch in August like they said, then I think he can help them. You know, he may get 8 starts or so, I don't know.
Yeah, he's still in a boot with his foot, so he's going to have to come back and then throw and get himself in shape. But if he can come back and get back to form, it's a huge pickup for the White Sox. There's no question about that.
Joe Torre is going to make another pitching change, and this will be a double switch with Juan Pierre going into left field to replace Manny Ramirez. 8-1, the Dodgers are leading, and the former closer of the Baltimore Orioles, George Sherrill, will come in to face Chipper Jones with 2 men on in the 8th inning. Dodgers and Braves, and an excellent matchup. Billingsley and Jurgens, and it was 0-0 into the 5th inning, and then the Dodgers had a 2-out rally. Ramirez started with a single, Loney hit a single, and then Matt Kemp, and you just saw it, launched one over the center field wall, and that turned the game squarely on the side of the Dodgers. Now George Sherrill, just acquired at the trading deadline, to face Chipper Jones, the Atlanta slugger, with 2 men on and 2 men out here in the 8th inning. Prado has knocked in the Braves' first run, and now the Braves trying to get serious about it and try to make this one a little more interesting, as Juan Pierre has come in to play left field. He'll hit in the 9th spot. Manny Ramirez is out. And Chipper fouls one out of play. Chipper tonight has struck out twice. That was earlier in the game against Billingsley, and he's also grounded out to second. So he is 0 for 3. There is Ross at second, and Prado, who had the RBI single, at first. 4 hits total for the Braves in this game. And the breaking ball, a check swing. Did he go? No. Jerry Crawford, the crew chief, says no. 2-1. Chipper, as a right-handed hitter this year, has hit 7 home runs in 108 at bats. He's demonstrated more power batting right-handed so far this year than left.
Well, he's got a streak of 14 straight years of 20 or more home runs, and he's going to have to get hot down the stretch to get those 20 now. No one has ever done that before as a switch hitter.
Chipper's got 13 home runs so far this year, and 4 of those have come in just the last couple of weeks. 2-2 the count. Right center field, Matt Kemp covering a lot of ground. So just the 1 run for Atlanta, and on to the 9th inning now. 8-1 Dodgers. In the stands, the real thing is now out of the game. SportsCenter comes up right at the end of the ball game, so stay tuned for that. The complete story of the day in sports, including all of Major League Baseball and a lot going on in Major League Baseball. Some wild games. You know the name Josh Reddick? No. Well, you better learn, because he hit a home run today for the Boston Red Sox, up from Double-A ball, and he launched one at Camden Yards today, part of the 18-run assault by the Red Sox on the Orioles. 18-10 was the final score, as Mark Loretta fouls one. The new catcher is in. David Ross stays in to do the catching, so McCann departs as Manny Acosta comes in to pitch, and Mark Loretta, who is 1 for 4, standing in. Orlando Hudson is on deck. Victor Martinez had a 5-hit game in that Camden Yards blowout today.
Yeah, we're only talking about pitchers, but I think that was a fabulous addition. I was surprised that, more teams didn't just go after Martinez and give up whatever they needed. Because, see, to me, an everyday hitter, a guy that can affect what's going on every day, is very valuable.
But versus a pitcher.
Yeah, right.
But Victor Martinez is a premier slugger.
Right. He's one of the better hitters in the league.
Diaz could not catch up to that ball, and into second base is Loretta.
Take a look at the Ford K zone on the pitch to Mark Loretta. You see David Ross setting up off the plate. Acosta throws it to the spot. It's actually off the plate, but Loretta, a veteran hitter, doesn't try to do too much, goes the other way and doesn't get all of it, but just enough to land it in front of Matt Diaz. As he dives and tries to get to it, tries to smother it to keep it in front of him as he realizes he's sliding, that he was in trouble. The ball gets by him, and Loretta ends up at second base.
So now Orlando Hudson, who has had a single and a walk. He is 1 for 3 all told. Switch hitter. And a fastball in there for a strike. Now, in Thursday's edition of the New York Times, it was reported that the Dodgers' Manny Ramirez and his former Red Sox teammate David Ortiz were on that list of 104 players who tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs back in 2003. This seems to be coming out in drips and drabs just every so often, which I suppose is going to be a great story in itself if that particular perpetrator is ever identified. But meanwhile, the names keep coming out, and the latest were both Manny and David Ortiz, as the ball is driven deep into right center and over the head of Diaz and up over the wall. An automatic double for Hudson. Loretta scores, and it is 9-1 Dodgers.
John, I think there is an agenda someplace for whoever's leaking these names. And then I go back and I say to myself, if I'm a member of the union, I would want whoever was in charge of deleting those names to be fired because he did not do his job. The names could have been deleted, and they were not deleted. Not only that, you've caused embarrassment to the players whose names are leaking out. You've caused embarrassment to baseball. So I think they should be fired. And my second thought is these names were never leaked out until the government got a hold of them. So it has to tell me that somebody has an agenda here that's, and I don't know what it is, obviously, but it's not in the best interest of baseball. It's not in the best interest of the game. So it's unbelievable to me that there's it was a list of 104. We've got 7 of them. Why those 7? Why not the whole list unless you do have an agenda? And why did we choose the players we chose to expose? I mean, when we know there are a lot of other ones out there. So that's my view. Fire the guy who didn't push the button to delete it and who has this agenda.
But now that's one aspect of the story.
Right.
And there's a different aspect of the story, which is that everybody in the game is a suspect. Everybody. Who's on that list? We don't know who's on the list. We have certain guys who say that they're not on the list. Well, we don't know if that's true or not. Everybody is a suspect. And so not only have the names gotten out, and I agree with you that that should not have happened and better care should have been taken. But at the same time, the union has to protect not just the guilty, those 104 that were guilty of cheating, but what about all the ones who are innocent? Do they not have any responsibility to protect those who were not cheating? And Mike Lupica in the Daily News, and I agree with him 100%, and I just like the way he put it. He said, nobody protects the innocent in baseball. As much of a failure as the Major League Players Association has been at protecting the guilty, it has done a much worse job of protecting the innocent.
Yeah, but
now, those guys who did not cheat are under suspicion of cheating.
Yeah, but did those guys were they cheating when they took that test? You see what I mean? Were they cheating? They talked to Players Union, decided we will give this test to prove to baseball that that there's not a drug problem in baseball. And you were taking that test under the premise that your name would never be exposed, you would never do anything wrong. So those guys really aren't, in my opinion, they're not guilty of anything. They didn't do anything. Now, the people you catch afterwards are guilty, in my opinion. But those guys admitted that they could go ahead and we'll take this test for the good of the game to see if there is a drug problem, and we'll move forward from there. So they didn't really cheat.
Yeah, but you can build that case as an intellectual exercise, and you can't argue with that.
Right.
But I think that's no longer the point. That's still a point if you're in the Players Association and the people in charge. But the point now is that if I was a player and I didn't do anything, There were guys who did some things who maybe made more money than I did because they were doing this, because they cheated. And there were guys who maybe made more money as a result of that. And now everybody is painted with the same broad stroke of they're all under suspicion.
Yeah. Here's the problem I have with it, is that what I never understood is what I thought was the silent majority. The majority of players who weren't cheating, why they were silent. Why weren't they speaking up and screaming from the highest mountain, somebody has to clean this game up. These guys are cheating and taking money out of my pocket. Now, what I think we've come to realize, maybe it wasn't a silent majority, maybe it was a silent minority. Maybe there were more cheaters than there were guys who weren't cheating. But the problem I have is this. I have a hard time feeling sorry for the guilt by association argument.
Right,
because players should have spoken up. They should have been screaming, saying somebody's got to clean the game up. They're complicit in what happened by not having spoken up earlier. And therefore, the fact that they're getting cast under the same shadow and the same light as those guys that did cheat, they have some culpability in that, responsibility for the way people look at them now.
Well, I agree with that, but I can't call them cheaters when, at that point, they were supposedly doing it for the good of the game to find out if there were cheaters out there. If there was more than 5%.
Right, but you should have told that to A-Rod before he.
Well, I'm just telling you.
Before he copped the plea.
I know, but I mean, he copped the plea because his name came up, and that back to the same point I made earlier. Why is a certain group of guys' names coming up? That's what I'm saying. So to me, somebody has a secret agenda here. If they're only exposing certain guys to this list. I mean, it's 100 guys out there, 104, and we know about 7 of them, right? Why those 7?
Well, we know this. The list is never going to be brought out. The union in Major League Baseball negotiated in collective bargaining to implement anonymous drug testing. They cannot unilaterally, either Major League Baseball or the Players Association, go against that and release the list of names.
Right.
And so we're not ever going to get that list, I don't believe, released in any way, shape, or form. So every 2 weeks, we're going to get names leaking out.
But somebody has that list, obviously, because there are leaking names. So someone has that list.
And at some point, it's a bigger story that somebody's willing to leak the names than what the names are on the list. I mean, isn't that a story that somebody's willing to just release these names on a list? To me, that's a story that somebody needs to investigate and find who that is. It's as big a story, if not bigger now, than the names that they're releasing.
Well, they found who it was in the Balco grand jury testimony case. People had, I guess it was a lawyer, had leaked out grand jury testimony that is sealed and actually cuts right to the fabric of our whole legal system. And he's doing time now. So that will be interesting. But I'm not interested in that. I mean, do you remember the union, Joe? You know the people, you know the dynamic. I could care less about that. The fact that these names are being put out there, I would like to see all of them put out there. Now, we can talk about the legalities of it and why it won't happen, and all of that's very true. But it doesn't change the idea that all of those who didn't cheat are now, as Lupica said today, there are no innocents now in baseball. In the public's perception, only the perps and the suspects. We know the 7 perpetrators that have been leaked out from that list now, and everybody else who played, and even guys who weren't playing there. Curtis Granderson said that he's had several calls from friends of his wanting to know, are you going to be on that list? And Granderson had to tell us, I wasn't even playing then. I wasn't even in the big leagues.
So why do you want the names released? Tell me why you want them released. Just so you know who they are?
I want to give everybody on that list a chance to do what A-Rod has done, for instance, and to have it all come out there and to make a clean sweep of it, to apologize and to cleanse themselves, and then go on. Because A-Rod's just fine now. But Yankee fans love him. He's helping them win. They're in first place. They love A-Rod.
Yeah, but remember this, John. That 103, that's not the total group that did it.
It's not the whole story.
You're still not getting the whole
104. But.
Yeah, 104. You're still not well, we already knew A-Rod, so whatever. But we're not getting the full measure of who did it just because we released that 103. I mean, that's not all the ones that did it. That's the ones that were caught at that time in 2003.
If we release it, they all have that chance to make a clean breast of it, come clean, cleanse their souls, and maybe the guys who did it and aren't on that list will have the opportunity to come out and see that, hey, this is a good idea. I'm going to do the same thing.
That's a little heavy for me.
Game is Matt Kemp, a home run, 5 RBIs. Chevrolet is proud to recognize today's best and tomorrow's future, supporting youth baseball nationwide. Matt Kemp equaling a career record with 5 runs batted in his first 3 on a 3-run homer over the center field wall that broke a 0-0 tie with 2 down in the 5th inning. Now Ramon Troncoso has come on to pitch with Juan Castro, who was the last batter of the first half of the inning, as a pinch hitter for Sherrill. He stays in to play shortstop, so Furcal is out of the game now, and there's Castro staying in. And a broken bat for Kelly Johnson, the pinch hitter for Manny Acosta. The Atlanta bullpen has been roughed up a little bit. The bullpen has been touched up for 5 runs in 4 innings. So just a bad night for the Braves all the way around.
John, I need to go back. You said you want them to cleanse their souls and come clean and all that kind of stuff. I need to understand that a little better. You think that's going to start all the other guys to come in and say they did it as well?
So this person who is leaking these names,
yeah,
you think he's just going to stop now?
No.
So it's they're going to come out. And right now, SportsCenter is ready to go, and we're going to get a little sneak peek from the SportsCenter studio with Stuart Scott and John Buccigross.
Hey guys, hang on. We're going to get some soul cleansing here.
They said sing. That's what I want. I want all the guys on that list to sing. I want them to sing.
If the list was all there is, you might be right, but there's more to it.
Well, I just want to
start somewhere,
because the names are going to come out.
Yeah.
They could preempt the whole thing. Whoever's doing this and whatever
they may not come out,
he's got,
maybe they've already
they can put him out of business.
Agenda. He may have already achieved his agenda just to get those 7 names out there. We don't know that. We don't know when the next names are going to come out or if they are. But I would agree with you. I think they are.
As a baseball fan, to characterize the whole discussion as just being about whether the names should have come out or not, I'm not interested in that. That's extra bases for Adam LaRoche. He's got a double with 2 down here in the 9th. I could care less about that. The names on the list, I'm fascinated about that, and how the individual guys respond to their name being outed. I'm fascinated with that.
All right, here's all I wanted. When they did the Mitchell report, I didn't want any names to come out. I didn't need any names because we're talking about the past. You know, things that have already happened. You can't go back and change them. What I really wanted to know is when it started, when was its highest use, and where are we now? Those are the 3 things I wanted to know from the Mitchell report. Not names, not who did this and who did that, but I wanted to know when was it started, when was its highest, and where are we now? I mean, that's what I felt that I wanted to know. Right now, I don't know anymore. I just know names.
Matt Diaz, the hitter, who is 1 for 3. And a foul on the third base side. Braves go on to San Diego. The Dodgers go home to take on Milwaukee. Dodgers with 19 hits in this game. The team that leads the National League in team batting average. Number 1 in on-base percentage. Number 3 in runs scored. Even Jason Schmidt, as a pinch hitter, had a base hit for the Dodgers tonight. That ties the Dodgers' highest hit total for a game this season. And this ball game is over. The Dodgers, after losing 5 out of 7 this week, win the finale of this road trip and take this series from Atlanta 2 out of 3. And Chad Billingsley, only 1 win in his previous 8 starts, gets his 11th win.